Good morning. We get started. It's 9 a.m. We are the Lyon County Planning Commission, and today is Tuesday, December 9th, 2025, and we have to read some basic information for the record. Planning Commission meetings are open to the public, and members of the public may attend in person, and the meetings are also virtual, and the public may attend via virtual Zoom. Public comment. Lyon County allows for the following alternatives for public comment. If you are attending the virtual Zoom meeting, public comment may be provided by raising your hand and requesting to provide public comment. This can occur in several ways, including by dialing *9 from your phone to raise your hand and request to speak for public comment. To unmute yourself, dial *6. You can also provide public comment for this meeting by sending an email to countyclerks@lyon-county.org the day prior to the posted meeting date. Be sure to type public comment in the subject line. Written public comments may also be mailed to the Lyon County Community Development Office at 27 South Main Street, Yerington, Nevada, 89447. But all public comments must be received prior to the date of the meeting if the comments are to be included in the supplemental materials. Any written public comment received the day of the meeting will be compiled and added as supplemental materials to the county's website and distributed to the Planning Commission within 24 hours after the meeting. Members of the public may attend the meeting in person at the Greg Honeywell Lyon County Commission Chambers at 27 South Main Street, Yerington, Nevada, where we are present today. We're going to do roll call. Commissioner Baker. Commissioner Merritt.
Here.
Commissioner Allen.
Here.
I'm Commissioner Sarasola, present. Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Sell.
Here.
And Commissioner Loomis. We have a full board, and that is a quorum. We will now move forward to the Pledge of Allegiance, will be led by Mark Jones.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Oh, sorry. No worries. Next is public participation. No action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. Members of the public who wish to address the Planning Commission may approach the podium and speak on matters related to the Lyon County Planning Commission, but not on items appearing on the agenda. Speakers are asked to state their name for the record and to sign and print their name on the form at the lectern. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person or topic. The commission reserves the right to reduce this 3-minute time limit as well as limit the total time for public comment. If your item requires extended discussion, please request a chair to calendar the matter for a future Planning Commission meeting. The Planning Commission will not restrict comments based on viewpoint. The same applies to public testimony on each agenda item. The chair may reopen public participation at any time during the meeting. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. We're going to move to review and adoption for the agenda, and do we have any public comment on that? We have none in the gallery, and how about online?
I'll make a motion that
We need to check online first, hold on. Nobody online? Okay, we'll take a motion from Audrey.
get to comment on the motion. Anyways. I'll move that we adopt the agenda for today's meeting.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sells. Sorry. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any opposition, abstentions? None. Okay. Next action.
Real quick, did you actually allow for public participation?
Yes,
Mhm.
we asked for it. Yep.
Okay.
Next is for possible action is the approval of the meeting minutes.
Oh,
Do you want?
I wanted to get up and speak in public participation on.
Oh, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Is it an item on the agenda?
Is it an item on the agenda?
It's not on the agenda.
Okay, perfect.
Scott Lomry from Yerington, third generation, actually. Just have a question. You guys are all doing a great job, so this has nothing to do with anybody that's on this board. But in the last couple of weeks, I've been reading chapter 15 quite a bit on everything you guys are involved in. And this one specifically probably for your attorney and Andrew. Haskins, probably it's section 3.02.01. It talks about the creation of a commission. And inside of there, it cites NRS statute 278.02.64. Inside of there, it says one representative appointed by the governing body of each incorporated city in the county. I just talked to those two gentlemen in the back, and there's nobody from Yerington. And I guess why I'm concerned about that, being a third generation from Yerington, is there some things going on. There's quite a bit of things with AI and everything else that are very important, and I think there should be a voice on here from Yerington as well as your voices as well. And again, I appreciate and commend you guys for your work you're doing and everything else, but I think we might be in violation of NRS. So I'll give this paper to the attorney, or do I go through the board? Okay, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lomry. Appreciate it. Make sure you please sign and put your information on the form. Do we have anybody else for public comment? So now we're going to move for the public possible action for the approval of the minutes. Do we have any public comment in the gallery for the approval of minutes from last month? There's nobody in here. How about online? It does not appear we have anyone online, so we will take a motion.
Melissa will make a motion to approve the minutes from November.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Merritt. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. We'll move on. Thank you. Any advisory board reports? We do not have any. Okay, we'll move on to public hearings. 7A for possible action to forward a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for the request from Winston FC Solar LLC for a planned unit development for the Winston Solar Project. The project consists of a 400 megawatt photovoltaic solar energy facility with approximately 780,000 solar panels, a battery energy storage system, an electrical substation, high voltage power lines, and an operations maintenance building on 11 parcels totaling 2,374 acres in Mason Valley, subject to heavy industrial suburban HI-S and rural residential 20-acre minimum RR-20 zoning. APNs 014-091 1315 16 17 and 22 and APN 014-201 14 17 18 32 33 35 PLZ 2025-084. Staff report, Mr. Carriola. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Louis Carriola, Senior Planner. So the subject parcels are located in Mason Valley. We see the image on the left showing the relative location north of the city of Yerington. These are rough estimates considering the size of the project, but approximately 8 miles north of Yerington and 20 miles south of Silver Springs. The properties are all located east of US Highway 95A. And I'm just checking the pointer. It does work. That's wonderful. So if we look at the image on the right, there's a diagonal line running roughly northwest to southeast. That is a Union Pacific rail line, just to orient everybody. We'll jump right into a site plan provided by the applicant of their project. And notably, while the project area we're considering today is over 11 parcels that total approximately 2,374 acres, there is an area that we see hatched on the northern side of the project area that was part of a previously approved conditional use permit from 2022, approved on September 1, 2022, for a solar array project. Now, again, the applicant did provide this image. It shows that area in yellow being a portion of their original conditional use permit approval that is no longer available to them based on the Nevada Energy GreenLink project. I believe they can touch on more of the details during their presentation, but some of that area was lost due to a region needed for high transmission lines. So that's what we're looking at there. I do think it's important to recognize that that conditional use permit from 2022 is valid until 2026. So they do still have a portion of their proposed project area today under approval by an unexecuted conditional use permit. So just to touch a little bit on the Nevada Energy Sierra Pacific Power GreenLink project at the Fort Churchill substation. This location is essentially the hub connection for GreenLink North and GreenLink West. This is a high voltage power line statewide project that will connect northern and southern Nevada with much of the energy generation occurring on private lands. Moving into the existing conditions on the site, the property owner is here. I'm sure he'll be available if you have questions for him. But currently, much of the area is vacant, some of it used for field crops and raising of livestock. The area is traversed by a number of irrigation ditches under the jurisdiction of the Walker River Irrigation District. We'll jump right into the master plan designations. This area is designated as a rural character district, and the master plan designations for the site shown on the right slide there are agriculture and industrial. We can see industrial along that rail line, and then the agriculture on the southern side of the project area. We'll note in the southeast there, there's a large parcel owned by Nevada Fish and Game, and that is designated as open space. The project area includes 2 applicable zoning districts from our current development code, Title 15. They are rural residential 20-acre minimum and heavy industrial. These proposed uses will require moving through this plan unit development to incorporate all of the uses that are included in their project. The plan unit development process is how they're able to kind of get their arms around all of the different uses and put them into one project area, as opposed to relying on the zoning, which again, for the project area would be split. The applicant will provide more details about the project, so I won't belabor the actual details in my presentation. But on the left here, we do have sort of a quick summary of what is proposed. It's most notably a 40 megawatt photovoltaic solar array. Per Title 15, our acronym for that is SECS, for a solar energy conversion system. I'll just refer to this project as a solar array moving forward. The proposal does note that the approximate number of solar panels, rather large, 780,000, supported by a battery energy storage system. We'll call that BESS moving forward. An electrical substation required for all of these types of projects to modulate the energy moving back to the grid, back and forth, and high voltage power lines to connect them, as well as an operations and maintenance building. Bottom right there shows the proposed construction timelines as included in the applicant's materials, as well as the operation phase. So the construction, notably rather long, 18 to 24 months, with between 350 and 450 personnel during peak season, which they have self-defined as approximately 6 months. At operation, notably smaller employee count at only approximately 12 people. I did get a glance at their presentation. I think they note even 10 in their presentation. Bit more details about the actual project, kind of denoting the location of some of the proposed elements. As you might imagine, most of the area covered by the solar array, that would be the 780,000 solar panels. The battery energy storage system and the electrical substation, roughly center of this slide, south of the Pacific line. and then north of Sierra Way. So I think I might have to go back here to show Sierra Way. No, we'll get to it. Oh, there's Sierra Way. So at the bottom bullet point, operations and maintenance building, that is the access to Sierra Way, which is proposed as a primary access for the project. Sierra Way extends all the way down to that Fort Churchill substation. I did include a few images from the applicant's PUD document, just to get some sense of the different elements. So this would just be an example as provided of the solar array panels, the best system. So we get some scale, some sense of scale on the image on the left, and then how they would be arranged in a field actually on the project site. All right, here's an image again provided by the applicant of an example of an electrical substation, again with some people in the front to get some sense of the scale. And then just the typical operations and maintenance building, just a metal building, obviously, providing a facility for maintenance of the site. So we'll get right now into the review of the application by staff. We don't see a lot of planned unit developments, so these aren't the findings that you'll usually be looking through when we're bringing forward conditional use permits and the like. So the planned unit development findings are found in Title 15 or Development Code, Chapter 349.10, and that section is titled Approval or Denial of Application. I will be sort of pushing this point through my presentation in the next few slides because it does form the basis of staff's recommendation. To start, there is language in that code section that states that the commission shall review the plans, and when looking at either approval or denial, to point out what respects the plan would or would not be in the public interest, including but not limited to the following findings. And we will move through some of the findings, but the important one from the staff report review is finding B, which is boxed there in the bottom. I've highlighted by underline some of the language that staff used in their review, and I'll read it into the record. The extent to which the plan departs from zoning regulations otherwise applicable to the property are or are not deemed to be in the public interest. Again, that is just an excerpt. I did not read the whole finding. To begin running through staff's assessment of the findings, finding A actually talks about which land use policies and goals and policies from the 2020 master plan might be met or confirmed by the project proposal. And the applicant did accurately point out a number of land use policies and natural resource policies from our 2020 master plan, which was approved in December of 2021, related to providing a diverse economic base and business industries that are appropriately placed. And I'll touch on that reasoning in the next slide. Encouraging resource sensitive growth and sustainable design, maintaining water supply and quality conservation. As we might imagine, solar arrays do not use the same amount of water as some of the other projects that are brought before the commission and the board. Clean air, geothermal, solar and wind encouragement, and dark skies. Now, the operations and maintenance building obviously would have some lights, but the actual 2,400 acre project area with a solar array would preserve some dark skies, and staff was able to make those findings in the staff report. I mentioned this just in the past slide, but one of the reasons staff's able to recognize this location as meeting some of those goals and policies from the master plan is as the aforementioned substation project at Fort Churchill and the Walker River substation. The expansion's got a different name than the existing facility. That area is located in a region of Lyon County where there are above ground BLM corridors for utilities and specifically high voltage power lines. So again, as part of the 2020 master plan, the Lyon County Board of Commissioners adopted this map that shows the general location of the project area with a utility corridor running right through it. We'll also again note the proximity to that Walker River substation in connection to the Greenlink project. So this provides for compact development patterns, and it does also limit the amount of high voltage power lines that would have to be constructed to connect to this larger project. So the completed project would not really require water rights, and again, just kind of supporting some of the findings in the planning and development. Not require significant water rights, wouldn't create significant air pollution, and wouldn't necessarily be a hindrance to dark skies. One of the attachments in the staff report is the visual impact study provided by the applicants. I'll again let them move through that in more detail. I just wanted to include 2 slides here in the presentation where they have projected the project into the landscape. So we see that bottom slide what the solar array might look like from this view from near the intersection of Sierra Way from US Highway 95A. We'll get into some of the review here. One of the sticking points for staff is certainly the setbacks. So the proposed setbacks are an area of concern to staff. And this image is, I believe, attachment 3 and shows the entire project area. The next 2 slides will be zoomed in on specific sections of this graphic. Well, when I get to the images. So I think it's important to note that the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners adopted a new standard for setbacks for these solar array projects. If we recall, in 2022, the applicant did receive approval for a conditional use permit for 1,700 acres with a solar array project that would not be subject to the standards we're going to run through now. But as of June 18, 2025, with an effective date of, 25 days later, the Lyon County Board of Commissioners did adopt new setback requirements for solar arrays. And I've highlighted the most pertinent point here, which is that they must be minimum a 1/2 mile, 2,640 feet from highway or adjacent properties with existing residential uses. The second large block of text highlighted that the solar array may be placed closer than 1/2 mile from the property with an existing residential use or highway if it's separated by a geologic feature or building of a height sufficient to completely obstruct the commercial solar array from a point 16 feet above the vertical boundary of a residential zoning district. I think the rationale there being if one had a 2-story house and an adult was standing there, that they would not be able to see the extent of the array. That bottom section is also included in the update approved by the board, and it applies to a number of renewable energy system components. So in this case, it would be both the BESS and the solar array project. But the Board of County Commissioners may, at their sole discretion, approve setbacks that are less than the setbacks outlined in the chapter if the project is part of a planned unit development. So we will touch on that last section here moving forward. I know the applicant will as well, but I did want to move into the specifics of that setback exhibit, and notably this first section here. So we can see the rail line, and then we can see Sierra Way, and that block of the solar array that is closest to the highway is set back 300 feet in their proposal. Recall that the requirement from the highway is 2,640 feet. So this reduction represents an 88% reduction in the setback just approved by the board in the middle of this calendar year. At the southern end of the project area is land that is zoned RR20 or subject to RR20 zoning. So that would be a residentially zoned area, as well as some existing residences. That bottom right, so that would be like the southeast corner. That is owned by a property owner that's not part of the project area ownership. And the proposed setback here is only 50 feet. If we recall the code section previously mentioned, there is an allowance per the new code to use a geologic feature to screen the solar array from a point 16 feet above. None of that is depicted in the exhibit. The applicant has on that northern area along Sierra Way proposed a landscaping strip to screen the solar array from the highway. The proposed landscape treatment, of course, being tentative at this point, would be cottonwood trees and shrubs. That image in the bottom center just shows a general location in the project area. Again, I'll let them discuss the merits of this proposal. So staff had requested when we first reviewed the application for more details of their proposed rationale or justification for the deviation from the setback standards. Admittingly, the code does say that as part of a planned unit development, the setbacks may be reduced. But staff did ask for, well, why would it be in the public interest for those setbacks to be reduced? And some of the information provided included the images that I'll show in the next couple slides. They are from attachment 1, the PUD handbook. This would be from table 1 in section 2, land use and design standards. So we can see on the left there in green, they're noting the half-mile setback. The proposed setback is 300 feet. And then part of the rationale is stated that the original portions of the CUP were lost. The NV Energy Walker River substation project requiring the acquisition of this additional land in the project area. And then the noted rationale includes this language: to achieve operational and production efficiencies and financial feasibility. So when Lyon County reviews any proposals for variances, which is kind of the process is informing staff for their review here, there are findings to make for variances, and they clearly state for minor variances that the reason can't simply be for financial means. And this, of course, would be major variance, which do have additional findings, and it is important to point out they're not requesting a variance, nor do they have to, because the planned unit development process does provide an opportunity to reduce setbacks if part of a planned unit development. However, it has been difficult for staff when reviewing this proposal to find the financial feasibility as an acceptable rationale for the proposed reduction in setback. And that point is further expanded upon here. This is also from table 1 in section 2 of the handbook, discussing the battery energy storage system. Once again, we have a rather large setback. So the code, the new code from June of 2025, did require a 1 mile setback for battery energy storage systems from a highway, from a river, and from residential uses. The proposal is half a mile. And then in the rationale, they do note that there's another residence that's closer. I think it's 1,400 feet. And I'm going to read this into the record because, again, it's a position the staff was not able to agree with. Although one residence falls within the setback, the best will be positioned so the substation acts as a natural barrier, minimizing visual and operational impacts. Staff is not of the opinion that a electrical substation is a sufficient visual barrier to a battery energy storage system. Let's get to that. All right, now we'll move into some of the other issues that occurred during the processing of this application between the applicant and staff. So one of the big sticking points was the lack of an approval from the Nevada Department of Transportation of the required traffic impact study for the proposed project. That code section, again, from June of 2025, adopted for both the BESS and the solar array components of this project, included requirements for submittal of a traffic impact study for both the construction phase and the operational phases of proposed projects in Lyon County. The applicant did not submit any approval from the Nevada Department of Transportation in their original application materials, and they submitted in October. They were told on October 23rd that they had an incomplete application for a number of reasons. One of them being the lack of this NDOT approval of a NDOT approved scope and approved study, traffic impact study for the project. The applicant did have to work through some of the county administration here to move forward because they have their own timelines, which I'm sure again they will discuss. To move forward with what was then determined to be a predominantly complete application on just November 17th, recognizing that their application would typically still be deemed to be deficient without the adequate information for staff to do a full review. They were also informed that this could directly affect staff's recommendation. The TIS that was submitted to staff after we had already noted that this was lacking was dated October 20th. But to this date, we're not aware of any actual submittal to the Nevada Department of Transportation. And instead, the applicants moved through their own process independent of Lyon County to work with NDOT directly to request a waiver of the traffic impact study requirement from NDOT. NDOT denied the request and clearly stated that the traffic impact study is required. Here's just a screenshot from the letter sent to us on November 21 to noting that the traffic impact study would be required. I do know we also got a copy of a December 2, 2025 letter that was sent from NDOT to the applicants that clearly stated that their request for a waiver had been denied. As a result of the aforementioned issues with both setbacks and the traffic impact study lacking, staff's recommendation is for denial. We were unable to make the findings for a PUD, specifically finding B. The recommended motion is included in the staff report. However, there is an alternative for approval. So we're the planning commissioners to work through this with the applicants and determine that they could move forward with some sort of approval recommendation. Staff has recommended a list of items that should be put on the record by the applicant, and they do address items that we discussed here in the project. So that would be the NDOT approval of both scope and content of the traffic impact study, meeting the county's review comments, recognizing that the setbacks need to have proper justification, rationale, and also be agreed upon by staff to be found in the public interest. And then that the tentative plan unit development application would include a bit more detail about maintaining the jurisdiction of the Walker River Irrigation District over their ditches. I will point out that some of the information we received from Walker River was a little after the review comment period. So that's something that staff did not bring up in the presentation. Not sure what's going on there, but I'm certainly available for questions. And again, I expect an extensive presentation from the applicants. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Louis, for staff? Or do you want to wait until you hear the presentation from?
Well, I'd just like to ask you a question.
Sure, absolutely.
I have a comment.
Commissioner Jones.
Sorry, we're
Sorry,
gonna
go
start
ahead,
with
Mike.
Commissioner Jones.
Commissioner Jones, I'm just curious, if the county requires an NDOT report to move forward with a project, how can NDOT waive that requirement if our county requires it?
I'm not aware of any authority they have to do so, sir.
Okay, so I was just curious why the application to waive that wouldn't override our rights to demand it.
No, sir.
Okay, just want to make sure.
My knowledge, no.
Is that all you have, Mr. Jones?
That's it.
Okay.
Chair, I just have a question, really for us, understanding that there's a lot of what we see as deficiencies, the setbacks, the end of everything here. And there's a large group of obviously important C-suite people in here today who are now about to stand up and spend hours presenting something that doesn't look very positive right now. Do we want to move forward with this or can this be tabled?
Sorry. Thank you, Commissioner Loomis.
Hold on.
Sorry.
I'm gonna have
Good.
the question answered by a higher authority.
Thank you.
What?
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. The item could be tabled, but the applicant would have to agree to it, as usual.
The time frame and everything, correct?
Yeah.
If we set a time frame on it, they would have to comply, they would have to agree to it.
Correct.
Thank
But
you.
my comment,
Go ahead.
okay, my comment is if they won't comply with NDOT, what makes us think that they will comply with our recommendations? That's just where I'm coming from.
I think that's a question that might have to come from the applicant, and we should listen to their program.
Well, good morning. For the record, Scott Whittemore with Energy Project Solutions on behalf of the applicant, the Winston Energy Project. First and foremost, want to thank staff. Lewis giving a very comprehensive presentation just now. You can tell how much time staff has put into this. We recognize that from Andrew to Gavin to Lisa to Lewis. Everybody at the county has done a tremendous job to bring it forward to this point. So just want to start with thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to present this morning. We do appreciate the opportunity and recognize staff has made a recommendation in front of you, but they've provided options. And what we'd like to talk through are some of those options. And when we talk about conditions are written commitments. They are commitments on the project in order for us to move forward. So that would be a way that we address this. And we're certainly going to talk about the NDOT TIS and what our intent was, what our intent is going forward. And you're going to hear a lot of that. So if I can, I'm going to jump into the presentation.
Before you jump into
Yes,
the
ma'am.
presentation, I'm going to ask the question again.
Yes, ma'am.
So I guess if you have an opportunity to provide, the county can provide conditions to you, are you willing to continue this project so we can get those conditions in place?
So
I think that what the board is looking at right now is that you have an incomplete application. So to make that complete and to be able to get a positive or at least a thorough review of it, we need the information in front of us. So
yes, ma'am. If I can answer the question.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think what we would appreciate is an opportunity to walk through how we're addressing those concerns and how we intend to not only recognize the conditions that for approval that staff has laid out, but also additional conditions that we're offering to help in a collaborative fashion get there. So that the idea of today, the whole goal of today is to get your input. And it should feel like a partnership between the project and the planning commission with staff. So that's the intent, is you're hopefully hearing two sides. And at the end of that, if there's additional conditions that we need to agree to, we're happy to.
I'm going to let Miss Commissioner Aubrey ask a question.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
The thing is there's a process that's followed, and staff follows their process, to make the project whole as whole as can be when it gets to us.
Mhm.
They've looked at all the findings, they've gone through all of the state review, they've gone through county review, they've gone through federal review at some point. And so that we have the information all before us. And so what I think I'm hearing is that you're going to propose going outside of the process and getting some kind of conditions or some approval from NDOT, but that's, not within the county's process.
Yeah, and Commissioner, thank you for the question. What I'd like to do, we've got a number of folks that are going to present from our side that are going to explain exactly how we intend to comply with the process, not go around it. It is intended to be within the Lyon County process. So that's
Okay, but I'm going to step in.
Yeah.
By doing that, you're circumventing the process, because the process is to submit this information to staff as required by the applications, and to allow them to process that information and to give us their thoughts and recommendations or disapprovals of that information. And one of those is a traffic study from NDOT, which we do not have, which makes this application incomplete and should not, I believe, be pushed forward for a vote. It should be continued if you want to go through the process, so you have a valid, complete application. So all of the information can be reviewed by staff and provided to us in the form that it should come.
I think what I would defer to is staff language, that the application was complete, which is why.
No, if you remember in the process, he made a statement that it was provided that it was predominantly complete, which is
Yeah.
semantics, and it means not complete.
one of the issues that's of procedural at issue is what we want to talk through of how we're addressing the NDOT traffic impact study. We have,
I understand that, and I understand your avenue, but unfortunately, that avenue should be taken with staff. It's not to be taken with the commission. The commission is supposed to be receiving that information from staff. They've reviewed it. They go through their process as what we're talking about. And in any application, and I realize the PUD is a new one, and we have adopted new procedures moving forward.
Mhm.
But it clearly states that it is a requirement of the application to have a traffic control study presented and reviewed and approved by NDOT, and that has not been done.
if I can request 2 minutes to confer, I believe what code requires is a traffic impact study being submitted to NDOT as part of a final PUD. What we're proposing right now, I believe the correct terminology is tentative. So the final PUD does not get issued until the vote of the Board of County Commissioners. So I'd like an opportunity just.
Well, I'm going to let staff address that question. Please, thank you.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Is the TIS part of the application process,
Yes,
or is it only required when it becomes not part of the tentative PUD, but as and when it becomes part of the final PUD? Is that what, I don't want to.
no. Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager for the record. So the applicant approached us, myself and Director Henderson, knowing that they didn't have their TIS submitted to NDOT, and asked if they could move forward with the process because they had gotten that letter of completeness. At that time, they said that they would submit it to NDP or NDOT, and that we informed them that if we got to this hearing and they didn't have it, then we would recommend denial. Now, my understanding is they never submitted that to NDOT and instead focused on trying to get a waiver from NDOT on that process. So that is the basis for staff's recommendation of denial.
Before you move on, I have a follow-up. So when in the application process is the TIS required by Lyon County in the beginning of it for the application? Or once it's been pushed through the approval process?
It should be submitted with the application.
Okay.
It just doesn't present a good, faith. A good faith, moving forward.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing, because if they're coming in and wanting to do things that's not complete or not whole at the very beginning, how's this gonna move forward? And that's my question.
Yeah. I'm sure they will get to their application and they may, or their presentation, they may have some answers for some of that. And it's up to the board as to whether or not those are good answers, but.
Well, my suggestion by the board is to listen to the presentation and then we can make a decision at that point.
Perfect.
Well, I would call for a vote on that because I would say no, it's a waste of time at this point. I would vote no.
Well, I believe we would have to do public comment before we can make a motion for
Table.
that. We'll let Mr. Haskins provide us that clarification, sorry.
I do think the planning commission should listen to their presentation for full consideration first.
I think,
I agree. Well, I agree. So let's move forward with the presentation.
Thank you and appreciate the discussion and understand. I can't hit next. Okay. If you'll hit next, thank you, Gavin. So, to get into the presentation, so you're going to hear from the project team again. Scott Whittemore, for the record, I appreciate the discussion. It tells me how invested you are and you want all of the answers, and that is why we're here today. We are here to help provide all the answers and work collaboratively in a way that feels like your input is part of the process. That's exactly why we're here in front of this body today. So, from the project team, Devin Muto, the vice president of EDF, will be presenting, myself, and then Sri Rambala, who is the project manager from CA Group, who is our traffic engineer. That is a major part of our presentation, understand how we're moving forward with NDOT and what our intent is. We also, from the project team, have David Calderon, Antonio Lopez, Matt Morris is on the phone, Sherry Brown's on the phone, Kevin Onkonsky's on the phone. So some of those folks, they would be available for questions, but the three presenters are Devin, myself, and Sriram. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Devin. Our intent here is to bring forward a project that has been in the works since 2017. That is when the private lands were first starting to be negotiated with the county, or excuse me, with the private landowners. We've got the Messini family here, the representatives of some of the land holdings. So they will also be commenting. But with that, I'll turn it over to Devin for his presentation.
All right, thank you, commissioners. Really do appreciate your time and listening to us today. I do understand some of the heartache here with where we're at with the process, and hopefully we can address some of that. I also really want to thank staff for all their work in getting us here today. There's been a lot that's gone into it, and definitely do appreciate it. So my name's Devin Muto. I'm Vice President of Development for EDF Power Solutions. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about EDF, but generally I just wanted to say that we're one of the oldest and largest developers of large scale renewables in North America, have a lot of deep experience and, use that experience to provide the projects that we do to all the counties that we work in. So you can scroll to the next one. We're really proud of the impact that we've had and all the projects that we developed across North America. We have over 20 gigawatts that we've developed just in North America. And in the last 15 years, it's returned over $26 billion to local economies and to landowners and to local communities. And also in North America, that's created over 100,000 jobs with them as well. And those are benefits that we're looking to bring to Lyon County and to the Nevada area. You can go to the next slide. So we're very active in Nevada. We have two operating plants, both in Southern Nevada. We've got our Switch project and our Arrow Canyon project. Arrow Canyon went online in 2023. It's our most recent one in Nevada that's gone online. And then in addition to the Winston Energy project that we have here in Lyon County, we also are developing another one in Southern Nevada called Bonanza, several others that are earlier stage. And then what I also did is I listed out some of the projects that we actually developed and put into construction over the past 7 years. I've been with EDF now for 7 years. We've got a number of projects that you see here throughout and on the bottom of the slide throughout California, Arizona, New Mexico. And we're pulling from the experiences that we've had in all these projects and making our projects better. We're really proud of the track record that we have in working with communities and developing projects that are sensitive to those communities. You can see there's a number of here in the same counties. And I think that's a testament to the kind of the repeat business and the relationships that we've developed there as partners with the communities in developing projects that respond to their interests and to their needs. We're really looking to do the same here in Lyon County. And like Scott said, we want this to be a partnership. We want to work with you and build a project that you are proud of as well as we are. I think you can go to the next one. So actually, Luis described the project really well. He was saying we were going to go into more details. There's not many more details to go into about these projects. They're pretty straightforward. As he mentioned, it's 2,374 acres. It's all on private land. And I think that's one of the things that I wanted to emphasize is that when the solar energy ordinance was being developed, a lot of the discussion was about projects on federal land. This is entirely on private land and not on federal land. We're right next to the Walker River substation. There's a variety of potential off-takers in Nevada, but basically everything goes through Nevada Energy as they're the owners of the infrastructure. We'll have bifacial monocrystalline photovoltaic panels that we'll be using and lithium ion batteries for the BESS. And as he indicated, the CUP was approved back in 2022. And actually, I was here presenting on the project back in 2022. So I've been around with this project for a while. It's important to point out, and I think the exhibit here, we had to update a little bit more because the original approval is in the hatching. And you can see that the yellow portion is the area that NVE came and said they need to use for their project. And they essentially said, either we're going to use eminent domain to take the land or you guys work with us and release the land to us. So we were forced to release the land to us. That totaled 362 acres of our original 1,700 acre approval that we had. And so that was part of the driving need for us to go out and get more land. So we did go out and we got more land. And then we also, in order to meet the overall megawatts, and one correction to what Luis presented, it's a 400 megawatt project, not a 40. So in order to meet the 400 megawatt project demand, we had to get additional land to cover that. We didn't move forward immediately with that additional CUP because actually getting through the initial CUP was so easy. We're like, oh, it's just going to take a few months to go through the CUP process and get our approvals. So we held off in processing that CUP for the rest of the land until we actually knew that we needed to do it. And that happened middle of this year. So that's part of the reason why we're into this situation where we're now faced with the time crunch that we're trying to work through right now. So yeah, I think, so looking at our history, as I mentioned, began several years ago, was really back in 2021 where we started like making the initial commitments. But this was land that we secured. We had to get interconnection agreements with Nevada Energy to tie our project in. We had that first one in 2021. Then we did a second one in 2023. We also secured more land after that. And then since then, we've been working on all the due diligence on the land, all of our design. So all of this work, we've done all these commitments, all this investment, all this design work prior to the energy ordinance being adopted this year. And then I think, as it was mentioned, it went into effect around June or maybe a little bit after that. So that's not a whole lot of time to respond to that, to understand what the new regulations are, and then to get that whole process going. So that's what we've been working with. And what we're not asking for is that we go around the procedures, but we are asking for some lenience here, given the history that we've had in the project and the amount of work that we've done to date before the solar energy ordinance was passed and before we could really respond to it and figure out what we needed to do. So going on to the next slide. So this was the schedule that we basically put in front of Andrew and Gavin that they alluded to. We were looking at our time frame to contract the project and to make commitments that we need to do in order to build the project, to respond to our off-taker needs, and also to achieve certain milestones that we need in order to develop the project. It's not actually going to go into construction, as you see here, until probably 2027. But we have to make commitments now because of the PUCN process and other factors. So we met with Andrew and Gavin around like the August timeframe. We said, how can we get certainty on this project that we can build by around the January timeframe, which is when we have to be making some of these very sizable commitments on the project. And this was the process that we laid out in front of us. And so that's what we've been working towards. And I think that's probably all I need to point out on this one. So going to the staff report, as Luis pointed out, we agree that staff report has, findings of the project consistent with the county goals and the master plan that we're appropriately cited, and we do provide benefits to the county. There's two issues that they raise with regards to the traffic impact report and to the setbacks, and we think that we can address those with you today. We brought our traffic engineer with us. We've actually done 3 traffic impact studies. So doing a traffic impact study to get it approved by NDOT is not a simple and straightforward process. You have to understand what they want. You have to have them review it and approve the scope of your study. Then they actually have to review the study, and then you have to usually go through revisions to get to a final traffic impact study. So that was what we were facing, is we said, this is our schedule. We don't have enough time to go through the full NDOT approved traffic study process. How can we get county feedback on our project? We still will do the traffic study. We just don't have time to get it done before we get input from the county on our project. And that was the issue that we were facing. So,
Excuse me,
yes.
Commissioner Aubrey has a question for you.
A question or a comment. For a corporation as large as yours, and you tell us how successful you are at building all of these power stations in southern Nevada, throughout the country. And then here, all of a sudden, you are up against mid-year this year, you're up against the deadlines of the CUP. Now, it just belies the whole situation that you're such a huge, competent, large corporation. You should have been on top of that. You should have gotten your NDOT traffic study done.
Commissioner, with respect, so we went through our original CUP approval. We were not required to provide a traffic impact study at that time. What we usually have done is provided those at the time of construction permits. So before we need to get encroachment permits in order to start construction, that's when we have usually done our NDOT approved studies. We learned of the need to have the NDOT approved traffic study when we started consulting staff on the timeline. So that was, my understanding is that was put into the ordinance that was adopted earlier this year. So it wasn't what we were following beforehand. We usually do, like as you saw, we were doing a bunch of other diligence on the project. If we knew we had to do it, we would have gotten it ramped up and getting going.
Company as large as yours, I would have thought that you'd have been on top of it.
We do our best. These are complex projects. We also, the reason why we've done 3 iterations of traffic studies so far is that we weren't aware that we needed to also add in additional projects in the analysis. And so we started analyzing our project, and then we were asked to add on Lux and add on Monarch. So we've added those in the traffic study. We can talk to those results today, and we are going to, but that's also what's led to this complexity. So we're trying to be responsive as fast as we can. But it's not like he can do traffic studies over the weekend, which is amazing. The problem is when we send it into NDOT, it takes months sometimes for review. And that's the issue that we're facing. So I want to reiterate, we're committed to completing a traffic impact study that will be approved by NDOT and approved by Lyon County. And we're committed to making any improvements that are needed from those traffic studies. We've actually already done a design for Sierra Way and Highway 95 intersection to address the impacts of those areas. And we are committed to funding and building those improvements at the intersection. We're also committed to fair share contributions to any other improvements that are needed as a result of all these cumulative projects that are occurring along the 95. So we have that commitment. It's just the issue of getting to in that approved traffic study.
Devin, I'm going to stop you because I think that it's a consensus of this board that we as a county cannot make decisions without NDOT's input. It is their highway that runs through our county that we have to deal with. It's a process. We've been through it. You've started this process in the past, and it's unfortunate that you chose to assume it would move quickly and that we wouldn't require it at this time. It is part of the application process. It is a new process that was just recently passed, but the commissioners took a long time to develop that and to take that information and to pass a new process. And for us to sit here today to circumvent the first project that tries to go through it is leading us down a river of why do we even have requirements for new projects? It is unfortunate for you. I understand your time constraint. I'm a consultant by nature of my business and I do what you do. But unfortunately, there's a requirement and a policy of what our county has. And right now we're not meeting it. So I don't know that moving forward, we realize you guys are available to do what you need to do, but we can't condition this project without the information in place. Staff can't make those recommendations for those conditions for you to agree to. And I don't think it's fair to put us in the situation that we say we'll agree to anything. And then when we get there, they're more stringent than you thought. They're less than we thought. It's just, that's why we have a process in place, is to get the proper information in front of the planning commission as well as the county commissioners to make these decisions for our constituents, business as well as private. And we know why we go through private business because BLM is difficult. It's a process as well, just like NDOT. It's faster to go through it, but it still needs to be done in accordance to the standards. So I don't know that we need to move forward with any of your information. I think we are willing to make a continuance if you guys are in agreement to do that, so that the correct information is presented to us. I know you're in a constraints, that's not a great answer for you, but I think it's the best answer for everyone.
So, Chair, what we're requesting, and I completely understand where you're at. We need to get input on our project and its design. We also need to get that input from the Board of Commissioners as well. So we would be asking to continue to move on to the Board of Commissioners, even if the recommendation is for denial. We completely understand that. But like I said, we're up against fixed milestones of making commitments on our project. And the challenge we have right now is that we don't know the extent of the setbacks that are going to be required on the project. And we're seeking, we've held a public information meeting. We've met with a bunch of the property owners. We're not hearing a bunch of concern. What we did here is we had heard concern about Sierra Way intersection. And that's why we said we're going to build, the improvements there. But we're trying to get input as to what this project is going to look like.
I understand that, but so are we. And we can't do that unless we have the proper information and the channels are followed for that information to come to us. You're asking to bring it to us at a later point after making a decision. So my guess is if we make a motion to deny, can they still take it to council? County Commissioner, sorry. That is your prerogative. I mean, and if you're willing to go that route, that is, again, your prerogative when we can move forward with that. But I think that we at this board level are ready to make a motion. If you're not willing to make the commitment to postpone it and continue it.
So I would say, let me consult with that for a second.
Okay.
But we would like to move on to the board with your input on the setbacks as well. Understand the traffic, but let me see what
I'm gonna let Mr. Haskins have a conversation.
The only other thing I was gonna say is, we should let the applicant finish their presentation.
Okay, that's fine.
May I ask one more question? Commissioner Loomis, Mr. Motto, you made a comment at the beginning of your presentation, and I need it to be expanded on. You said, we are requesting leniency. So my question to you is, what do you expect us to fall down on our side that you're not prepared to fall down on your side by listening to our side? Does that make sense? You said, I quote, we're requesting leniency. What do you think leniency is from your perspective?
Well, I think, I guess what I was alluding to with that is that we've learned that the county expectation is to have a NDOT approved traffic study when you come to the planning commission.
Okay, good.
We're asking for an exception to that today, obviously, and that was where I was asking for some leniency.
And I think part of, and Scott Whittemore for the record. The goal here is to present the full project, and as Devin said, both the traffic study and the setbacks were the two concerns outlined by staff. The rest, they found it met policy goals and it was in conformance with the master plan. Part of what we'd like to get on the record is what is being asked of us and what we're already committing to. So your question is a good one. What is the project willing to give? To our knowledge, no other project has come forward saying they will make traffic improvements at their own expense individually. EDF has presented the whole reason for the TIS waiver, and now we're kind of getting into the heart of it, was we had proposed up to $2 million in improvements at Sierra Way with a conceptual design, so that the TIS waiver says that's a process. Let's get to the solution. The problem is traffic at Sierra Way backing up. We heard it consistently. We heard it from our informal briefings with commissioners. We heard it from the community is we want a right-hand turn on Sierra Way going northbound and a left-hand turn going southbound. To EDF's credit, they said, great, we'll do it. So when we heard from staff, you need an approved TIS, we said, but wait a minute, we're already committing to up to $2 million at Sierra Way to solve the problem. A TIS might take 6 to 7 months to come to the same solution. As Devin was describing, the scoping was, the surprise was, they want us to study cumulative impacts of other projects. That is very, very rare. We said, fine, we'll do that. What are the traffic counts? Our traffic engineer is here to present those traffic counts and tell you that we're 20% of the overall cumulative impacts. It's very, very low. But in the meantime, Those other projects have not come to the table, as far as we know, saying, here's how we're going to help the county. So when you ask, what are we willing to do, is we're willing to put significant cash to make those improvements to help mitigate the traffic. It was never to go around NDOT. You cannot use an NDOT highway without going through an NDOT process. We would never be able to get to construction. We would need an occupancy permit or an encroachment permit, a traffic control permit. We know that. What was different for us was we need an approved TIS, and we're scratching our head saying, but wait a minute, here's our traffic counts, here's our commitment. Making us go through the NDOT process to have the same result or maybe less is the reality. The county would probably get less in that scenario. And we're saying, no, we want to do the right thing. Here's $2 million up front. But we haven't even talked about that. We haven't even gotten to how we hope to mitigate traffic. And so that's part of what we hope to get on the record here today. So when you say, what is the planning commission? How is it, what are we asking for you? We're asking for you to put conditions on us. We can't get to construction without meeting these things. Staff agrees. In one of their, if you were going to find for approval, one of the conditions was go get an approved TIS. We're in the process right now. NDOT's coordination is saying they're going to expedite it for us, hopefully less than a month. The problem is it doesn't change where we are today. We're willing to make the commitments to get the improvements done and participate in a pro rata share of the other cumulative impacts. I don't think any other developer has come to the table in that way. So that's the whole point of what we're trying to present a project and get conditions, but we're asking to at least walk through it.
So is line,
Sorry. Commissioner Allen?
Yeah.
I just also wanted to know, that is outside the process, though. I mean, even if you wanted us to give you the leniency, like my fellow commissioners stated down at the end, Wendy, you would still have to wait the 6 or 7 months to get, before you'd get the approval from NDOT is what you're telling me. It's kind of what I heard. But then there's a second issue. How are you working with staff to address the setbacks?
We'd love to walk through it.
Yes, I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
They need to finish their presentation, so I
Okay.
think we can know that.
Okay, thank you very much.
So one other question, Commissioner Loomis, just on this same topic. Is the process for Lyon County that's requiring the NDOT, is that different to these other places where you have these other projects? In other words, what did you do at the other projects you have? Did you ask for variances on those too? Or did you complete their process?
We absolutely can participate in any NDOT process. It's part of the permitting process, but it's not usually at an entitlement stage level. It's not required to have an approved TIS from NDOT. And a TIS waiver is incredibly common. You explain your trip counts to NDOT and they either agree or they don't agree. In this instance, we've made an argument to NDOT that we're willing to make here's our design, here's our improvements. Does this meet with your standard? And they said, ultimately, they deferred to the county. I think you should be proud that NDOT, what they said was, there's so many projects. We want to make sure that the county has the full picture. And we said, we get it now. We understand. You don't just want to study us. You want to study everybody. And we agree. And we've also said we're willing to participate in the pro rata share of improvements to Ramsey Weeks, improvement along other intersections they've identified. Add those conditions, or we've offered the conditions in writing so that we can't move forward without it. And I just want to stress something. The county, as part of their presentation, said a PUD is very rare. A plan unit development under Nevada revised statute is designed for flexibility. It is designed so that you can see a project and add conditions. It's also very common on a CUP to add conditions. It means you cannot move forward unless you meet those conditions. So we couldn't just walk out of here and say, we pulled one over on them. There would be conditions before a building permit, before a grading permit. And certainly at the Board of County Commissioners, we're going to have the same questions for us. How are you going to satisfy a TIS? Talk to us about the setbacks. And that's what we intend to do.
Thank you.
Let's continue with the applications.
Yeah, I will try to go quick because I know you guys are wanting to move on. I will just also point out, we have done traffic studies on almost all of our projects, and it's actually very rare that they trigger improvements. And as Scott mentioned, the improvements that we're committing to here in Sierra Way are above and beyond anything that we've ever done for any project, but we're happy to do it. We've heard that it's an ask from the community. We've heard that's an ask of the commissioners. We see that there's other projects contributing to it, and we want to partner with this community and provide some benefit above and beyond just our project. And so that's what we were trying to achieve. Okay, so with the setbacks, as staff indicated, the arguments on economic hardship alone is not sufficient to justify the reductions. we get it. We didn't have a lot of time to work back and forth with staff and provide additional justification. We do feel that there's a number of highly unique circumstances to this situation, which Scott's going to go into. We do have the prior approvals on the land. We've got the land that's been removed by Nevada Energy and other site constraints. Just as an example, some of those other site constraints, we mentioned the Walker River Irrigation District. They've got a number of canals across our project. Some of them don't even have full easements on them. We're working with them to grant them easements for their land. That's additional land that we're giving away that we're not able to build on. And so that's a public benefit. We've got proximity to the Nevada Energy Substation, a number of other projects in the area. So we all think that these add into the justification of why a reduced setback is appropriate. And we've looked at each of the individual setbacks and said, what is the purpose of having a setback here? And is there a way to address the purpose of that setback in any other ways than just having a large setback? Because with all those large setbacks, it's about 400 acres that we can't build on part of our site. And does that really make sense to just leave 400 acres vacant? Or is there a way to be able to build more, but to still accomplish the same needs? And so that's what we were trying to get at. We're completely open to ideas there. We've done some landscape work on some planting and landscape patterns. And we're welcoming feedback. Do we need more? Do we need different types of species? Is there a different approach that we want to look at? So that's what we were hoping to get into today. Got a little bit off track. Okay, construction trips. I'll do that really quick. I just wanted to talk a little bit about this before I turn it over to Sram, who's going to talk about the traffic impact study. So we estimate that we generate approximately 400 construction jobs. 350 of those are workers on the site. And that's just at peak. So our peak is mainly when the panels are coming onto the site and we're putting them up on all the trackers. That's about a 6-month process. So that peak is pretty limited. So a lot of the traffic concerns are just for that 6-month period. But again, we're still willing to fully mitigate for those potential impacts. There's also a number of things that reduce the trips that are actually coming to the site. Ride sharing is very common, especially amongst laborers when they have to commute long distances. So if they're coming from, Reno, Fernley, Carson City, they're going to want to share rides. They're not all going to want to pay for gas to come all the way to the site. We also have a variety of different subcontractors and crews that come to the site at different times. So it's not like they're all coming in at the same time. They're coming from different directions and different times. And if there's concern about Monarch, Lux, any other construction sites in the area, we have coordinated often with other construction projects at the same time and worked on scheduling and routing to reduce the impacts to the surrounding areas. It's not a benefit to us to have more congestion, to have delays in either our workers getting to the site or deliveries coming to the site. So we want to work around those ourselves. And with that, I will go ahead and turn over to Sram. He's going to talk about the traffic impact study. The one thing I will note from SRAM and the CA group, and he can talk a little bit about himself, is they do a lot of work directly for NDOT. And so they have a very good understanding of what NDOT will be looking for as a result of the traffic analysis.
Thank you, Devin. For the record, Sriram Balal, CA Group Traffic Consultant for Winston Energy. Thank you, commissioners, for allowing me to present today. And I think I was just going to spend a little time on the first slide, but knowing the type of questions and the interest on the history of the traffic studies that we have done, I would like to, with your permission, spend a little bit more time on to walk you guys through the history of that. So I'll be spending some time on this one and the last slide, which is just a comparison between what is Winston Solar impact, traffic impact is compared to the cumulative impact. So we started off, I think Lewis had mentioned in his presentation that we had submitted a traffic analysis to the county on October 10. And then we had received a letter from the county on 23rd, which is when we had the town hall meeting. When we met with the folks like in a public here, that letter required a traffic and TIS to be completed, approved by NDOT. And like I think like Scott had mentioned, Devin has mentioned, you guys probably have a little bit of understanding of the time like it takes for one to collect the data. Like we have to understand what the existing traffic counts are doing.
And then also take that and perform the analysis ourselves, write a report, submit to NDOT, they review it. So all this process, maybe not necessarily 6 months, it could be 4 months, depending on how busy they are and how much each project requires and their staff availability as well. So we reached out to NDOT on the 10th of November to just understand what the study scope is. Prior to that, the traffic analysis we had submitted to the county, we had included 4 intersections, which are all within the project proximity, which is typical of any traffic impact study being done is Penrose, and to 339. So this is very typical to do just the 4 nearby intersections that are impacted because of the traffic that the project is putting on the road. But when we got the response from NDOT for the TIS scope, they did introduce 2 new intersections, which is, I think, based on county's request to look at Ramsey Weeks, which is 20 miles away, which we weren't anticipating. Those are some of the reasons why there were stuff going back and forth, and reason for why, although we received the letter on 23rd of October, we are still doing the analysis. This because they introduced 2 new intersections, and I think it is based on county's request to have those two intersections 20 miles away to be included as part of the analysis, which is a typical thing. So where we're at with that is we are actually, so when we realized that we are constrained for time, which is this meeting, we wanted to have the TIS approved by NDOT. We did submit a TIS waiver. It is not to supplant anything just to go behind the thing. It is just to make, while we're still doing the analysis, we actually made a TIS waiver request. In that waiver request, the memo, I don't know if you guys had a chance to see it or not, but what was written, given in writing to NDOT is the fact that, hey, we understand it's going to take time. Here's our worst case scenario, which is 350 vehicles that our Winston Energy is going to be putting on the road during peak construction. And this is what is going to impact Sierra Way. These are the improvements that are needed. And EDF committed, Winston Energy committed to do in writing that we will put $2 million, which is required for improvements of Sierra Way because of the traffic impact that the project is going to put on board. So there was a commitment there. So it's not to just bypass any of the procedures that NDOT is going to require. It is just a request because of the timeline that we had is, can you guys give us a waiver request? We have done the analysis. You could see the analysis. Here's the mitigation that's required. EDF is committing to put $2 million based on the cost estimate we came up with. We did an intersection layout. We did the cost estimate, and that was all included in the memo. There is no way to just kind of just bypass any of the procedures. So I just want that to be on the record. With that, and then so what we did is, I think I have it written down as 24th November is when we met with the county staff. That's when we met with NDOT front office as a response to the TIS waiver request we made on November the 13th. And we met with NDOT and the county staff on 1st of December. Why I'm just giving you all of the timeline is it's just important. We have been making, as a team, EDF has been making a concerted effort in trying to just get the NDOT approved, the traffic analysis approved, and without just going behind, and just do the process the right way. But in the constraint of time, we took some effort in trying to just put it in writing on paper. These are the improvements that are needed. We will do it. When I just go through the next slides, you would just see exactly what was committed in the letter. And then right now we're doing analysis, after meeting with the county staff and NDOT on the 1st of December, we're doing 2 different analyses. I'll be talking about it. So I'm going to go through the next 5 slides really quickly, and then just a few time. The important thing here is the 2 intersections analyzed. If I can point to that point. Okay, so the number 1 and 2 are the 2 new intersections that got added, and we understand it's based on county requesting NDOT to be a part of the analysis. And also 3 and 4 were part of the original analysis we had submitted to the county. And then the two situations we're currently analyzing, we do have results of that is the Winston Energy construction. And what does it do along with the existing traffic on 95, 25 projected to 27, which is year 2027, which is when we expect the peak construction to happen. So that is one scenario that we are analyzing. And the second scenario that NDOT required us to do is analyze, again, going back to Commissioner Allen's question is what is it? Like, they required us, which is atypical again, to include two new projects that were, happening at the same time. Again, I think it is in collaboration with the county staff that they made that request. So we're going to analyze that one as well. So 3 projects put together. When I say cumulative, it is Winston Energy, Lux Solar, and then the Monarch Data Center, all 3 construction put together, plus the 2027 traffic. When I say 2027, it's 2025 existing traffic projected to 2027. So that's just, those are the 2 analysis that we will be doing. You can go to the next slide. So quickly here, this is just like the slide that you're seeing over there is just Winston Energy traffic impact. I don't want you guys to bore with the numbers. So every one of this is a turning movement there, and we understand like it is associated with the level of service, which is like, you understand certain, like, how a level of service could impact, like, what is happening out there, could be delays and stuff like that. So we take that into consideration, and NDOT access management guidelines, both of that into consideration. And we do make recommendations based on mitigation, based on, like, there's a delay on the left turn movement. So we can go to the next slide. So as part of this analysis, just for the Winston traffic that it is putting on 95A, we just, like, these are the 3 recommendations for mitigation recommendations that we came up with. Southbound left turn lane, northbound right turn lane, and improvements to Sierra. So, the traffic could just go there without delay. The level of service is maintained if you just include these movements. It is perfect. Now, this is what typically is done, but the next slide is what NDOT has asked us to do, which is, again, add 2 new projects to the analysis. Now, this one is a cumulative analysis similar to the one I talked about for just Winston. It includes the 3 projects that I've identified there, Winston, Lux, and Monarch. Again, the numbers are like, if you put 3 projects together, expect all 3 to have the construction at the same time, peak construction, the number is going to just, skyrocket. And the next slide, if anybody's interested in just looking at the numbers, like later, I'll be happy to just walk you right now. In the interest of time, I'm going to move forward. And then you could just see the mitigation here is like all 4 intersections analyzed. Everywhere there is a need, because it's like you're putting 3 projects together, all having peak construction at the same time. So there's a lot of improvements that are happening, and I did point out just something in green. That's what Monarch Data Center has done. Like, they have already made recommendations to the the intersections as improvements. That is, there's overlap there. So we could just get to the next slide. So this is one I just want to spend like a minute here. The key here is the one in the middle is Winston Energy, what our impact brings, and the cumulative of the 3 projects, which is Lux, Winston, and the Monarch together. If I could get your attention to the bottom 4, those are the 4 intersections. If you could see, like, the green text in there, none, and none, which is like 3 out of the 4 intersections does not require any improvements there, because like it's only our traffic, Winston Energy traffic. But if you do a cumulative analysis, it's just going to require improvements through all 4 intersections there. Now, with that in mind, I just want you guys, if I could get your attention to the percent of the cumulative trips. Scott did mention about it. Ours, like, 21% is of the overall cumulative traffic, which is only 1/5 of the overall impact. And then EDF and Winston Energy has already committed to doing improvements to Sierra Way, and in the tune of $2 million. I hope I can say that. $2 million. So, if overall, based on our understanding is, we would request you guys to just, like, whenever like there is a cost sharing that is being discussed, keep the, the percentage of traffic impact that Winston Energy is bringing to the table. And with that, do you guys want to add anything?
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so you're talking about improvement to Ramsey Weeks and some of the others. I think the consideration is that traffic is not just stagnant or just doesn't stay in the area of your intersection. It is going to go through those other intersections, and so it will have an impact on those. And that's why they're wanting to know what kind of impact is there. And if there are any improvements that need to be made as a result of your project, then they're going to want to know how do you intend to work with that? How do you intend to fix that?
So if I can answer, there's two parts to that question. So the analysis that I showed, just Winston Energy impact, traffic impact, does not require improvements at three out of the four intersections. It requires only improvements at Sierra Way. Okay, so that's one. And then also like, you know, those two intersections, granted, yes, you guys wanted to see it, but it is atypical, like to have those like analyzed. So when we started the, you know, analysis first, we considered the four intersections that Monarch Data Center has just gotten approved by, you know, NDOT. We looked at that. They have done a traffic study. Let's, you know, analyze the four intersections while we're still kind of talking to NDOT. So it is all just kind of trying to get the timeline, like, you know, understanding we're working on a crunch to just get it presented in front of you today. We kind of did everything, like, you know, that's why I walked you guys through the timetable, that we've been doing stuff to make sure that we do what is required by the county.
So you're telling me that all of this will be in the PIS that's going to be submitted ultimately?
Absolutely,
That
yes.
staff will approve.
Yes. We're hoping to have that, like, we already done the analysis. That's what you saw in one of the slides. We're hoping to have that report wrapped up in 2 weeks and we will submit it to NDOT. And NDOT, I think in their letter, Louis just mentioned, they did say that they're going to work with us, or we're going to be working with them to get this done. Again, regarding the timeline, I'll just have, like, you know, Scott or Devin talk about it. Any more questions?
I think that's where you need the leniency is with NDOT.
So Madam Chair, I just wanted to say thank you again to you and the committee. You all are giving us your time and attention. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to present a full picture, not just the staff, and we have understand and respect staff's point of view. It's important that we're putting our full project on the record. Just one clarification. The idea that, you know, EDF and the group was kind of asleep at the switch, right? How did we miss this? How did we not see this coming? Why is this TIS a surprise? Under the new solar ordinance that was adopted, under the siting code that was clearly identified for road impacts, it says the project shall require 2 separate traffic studies, one traffic study for the construction phase of the project and a second traffic study for the operations and maintenance phase of the project. Traffic studies shall be provided at the time of the application for the conditional use permit or plan use development process. We did. We submitted our traffic analysis to staff. They then came back above and beyond and said, we need an approved NDOT TIS. This is a surprise. That's not what the code says. Now, staff is pointing to the director's discretion. We understand, we agree, we're going to comply with it, but that's the timing difference. So it's not that we're not going to get it, it's when it was required in time. So what we're asking for is to present a project and be conditioned to go get a TIS. That's what staff has in their approval, and we agree. We agree to the condition. Go get it.
Which I understand, but you're on US 95, which is owned by NDOT. It's not owned by Lyon County. So even though Lyon County wants improvements, we can't do improvements on NDOT's roadway
No, understood.
without approval. So
Yes, ma'am. No, understand.
there's a significant line between the two entities. That's all I'm saying. So
100%, and we're going to comply with both. Is NDOT and
Correct. We
Right. So
understand that.
Yeah, we couldn't go forward with construction without an NDOT permit.
correct.
Okay, so just quickly, because I think we haven't touched on setbacks. And
No, and I have some questions on setbacks.
Okay, perfect.
So let's go through that process.
Perfect. And again,
Do you want to state something from staff? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Louis Carriello, Senior Planner. I did want to point out that staff held what we call a roundtable meeting with the applicants in June of 2025, specifically June 17, 2025. They were sent, and a roundtable is when a preliminary project plan is presented to a number of county departments. In this case, certainly planning's input is the important part I'll be commenting on. But they were told in June of 2025, I'm going to read 2 of these items. Note that a traffic impact study will be required for the construction phases for CUPs and/or PUDs for new commercial solar field proposals, in addition to the final operation stage. So the typical process going through NDOT for a traffic impact study includes approval by NDOT of the scope of the study before it's submitted. So that's just the process. Additionally, they were told a planned unit development could be proposed if the design of the project cannot meet the new code But if the proposal is only for a solar field, then it will be difficult for staff to make findings and recommend approval of a new PUD that could be viewed as a means of circumventing the newly approved code. I do want to point out that this information was provided in June of 2025 to the applicants. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know that we're disagreeing with that in any way. Scott Whitmore for the record. We know we have to establish a traffic impact study. We know it has to go through NDOT. We know it has to satisfy staff. We agree with the planning commission's concerns. We want to be part of the solution. We don't want to be part of the problem. To our knowledge, I'll state it again, we're the only project coming forward. What is this about? This is about traffic and affecting the local community and making sure that everyone's protected. And what is the fair share of every project? We don't know the full extent of what you're going to require of Monarch or Lux or other projects. We can talk about ours. We come to the table today with $2 million for the county for improvements at Sierra Way. We come to the county today saying we know we have to get an approved NDOT TIS. There's no other way to state it. So we're not avoiding substantive outcome. We're talking about process. And we're hoping that the planning commission is hearing us today, acting like a partner, being transparent, explaining our view of the process, explaining how we're going to address the process, but in no way circumnavigate the outcome, which is improvements necessary. That's what we're committed to. Okay, so quickly as it relates to just what is the plan unit development, and using the word flexible in my view is critical. So the Lyon County Code allows for a PUD. It was included in the solar energy conversion systems ordinance, the solar ordinance that was debated in this community. Important to note that we've been operating since 2017 as part of this project, out talking with landowners, out talking with the community, involved in the community. The original CUP was processed and approved in 2022. So we've been invested in this as long as just about any other project in the area, and followed the solar ordinance very, very closely. A plan unit development is permitted in all zones if considered consistent with the master plan. We heard that from staff. Our plan is consistent with the master plan. It also allows for deviations from standards. That's the point of a plan unit development. It also requires a case-by-case analysis. That's what we're asking for. We're asking for us to be viewed and on our merits. What is our project offering? What is our project? What are the issues? How are we trying to correct those issues? What are the purpose of setbacks generally? They exist to ensure safety, visual screening, and compatibility. So we want to talk about those. Why we believe the setbacks are justified. So they're justified by the site constraints which exist, which are the WRID ditches. There's the rail line, and we'll talk through those. But we're proactively addressing what we heard in feedback on US 95 and during the solar ordinance, the thoroughfare of the US 95 was one of the key elements. So we proactively created that 300-foot landscape buffer. I'm going to go to the next slide if I can together. Just quickly, what was in the staff report? The staff report concludes the PUD application conforms to and supports multiple county policy goals in the master plan. The application supports the following master plan land use and natural resources as laid out by Lewis. Project location and compatibility. Staff report confirms the proposed location is appropriate for a solar energy zone. Development is compatible with its other surrounding utility uses. There's minimal resource impacts. Minimal impacts to water resources, will not require significant long-term water use, and will not result in air or light pollution. Those are staff's findings. So then there's traffic, as we talked about ad nauseum. Traffic analysis and mitigation can be addressed as conditions of the PUD. Very standard for plan unit developments. Applicant is committed to make improvements on Sierra and US 95 and coordinate with any other developments for further improvements on US 95 that you guys have identified, which is Lux and Monarch. Staff is not able to recommend approval of the reduction in a setback as justified for financial feasibility. In the ordinance, it provides that the county, being the planning commission and the board, in its sole discretion, can relieve setback standards for projects in a PUD. County has explicitly designated the PUD mechanism as a means to address this. I encourage anyone who wants to go back. I don't know if anybody wants to relive the solar ordinance. There was very clear dialogue on the record, the difference between BLM projects and private land projects. And on the record, it was stated that a PUD would be the appropriate mechanism for private land sites. That this was a way, and private landowners who were concerned about their private property development rights being impinged by what was intended, if you watch, in my view, the solar ordinance debate, was to try and contain the BLM projects. This county has been very active and vocal against the Bureau of Land Management citing projects without your feedback. What was clearly laid out in the ordinance was that a PUD process would be separate for private lands. We followed that. We asked staff, they agreed. PUD was the right mechanism. Okay, so if you applied the solar ordinance, it would essentially take out 400 acres. And this is such an important map. What you're looking at is our project and then the setback along US 95 in that orange corridor. Let's just start there. The orange corridor would essentially affect that 250 acres up front. Otherwise, we're outside of it. The entire project is outside of that. So what did we use as our justification? We created a mitigation of 300 feet of a landscape buffer fronting US 95. That was our goal. So when we talk about, these setbacks, it's on a very case-by-case basis. The residential areas, if you look at the bubbles, most of which don't impact the project. There are some to the south that you see in that bubble, and if it's okay, if I'm on the record, can I walk up to that screen? Gavin, can you hear me? Okay. Just importantly, I think one of the residences that was identified by staff was this one. If you look at the bubble, we're outside of where those impacts would be. This is part of the Massini family. This is part of the Massini family. These are participating projects. So this bubble, we just showed it for complete transparency, but it doesn't impact the project. These homeowners, we've canvassed almost every homeowner. We've had conversations, many of which are participating or agree or don't oppose the project. We welcome any feedback today from constituents who might disagree and have concerns about setbacks that affect the residences. We held a town hall proactively. It was not required by code. We held a town hall in October. We canvassed the neighborhoods. We invited the neighborhoods. Commissioner Hockaday was there. And as part of that, I'll get back on the mic if that's important. Yeah.
Thank you.
As part of that town hall was an opportunity for residents to voice concerns about setbacks. We heard zero. We heard concerns. What are the lights? What's the noise? Tell us about Monarch. Is Monarch going to use Penrose? So we had about 12 people sign in, mostly family, so about 24 people in attendance. So we were able to, I believe, answer questions affirmatively for every single person. If there are people and if staff has comments from residents, constituents, we'd love to hear them. If you all get questions, we would love to answer them. Part of the process, right, of due process is notice and an opportunity to be heard. We welcome anyone to tell us where they might have setback concerns. As of right now, we do not have those. So I think that's important to point out. The underlying land use, and I promise we're going to go quick here. Half of the project is already approved. The surrounding area is vastly industrial by design. This community wants to see economic development in this northern area. This substation, I think it's the largest substation on the continent, Walker River. It's allowing for massive economic development here. One of the key elements of that is power. So generation is a key aspect of allowing new projects to come online. Winston is one of those generation sources. During the debate, the PUD process, again, was explicitly designed for private property to address these setbacks, which different from the BLM project. Staff notes the project aligns with the heavy industrial suburban area that is nearby. The question is the rural residential and how are we treating those setbacks? So the measurement from the closest residence, I believe, is 1,400 feet to the property line. So important to keep in mind. What was outlined in the ordinance was the residential lot. So I'm not trying to confuse the two, but if you're talking about a residence, it's over 1,400 feet, I believe, is the closest distance from the nearest residence who's not participating in the project. Quickly, just the surrounding character. The area is predominantly industrial. We talked about this. There's already a large solar project out there. The Fort Churchill solar project. Lux has been proposed in this community. The Monarch project, which this community is very aware of. But if you look at that, sorry, it's the next map or next slide, Gavin. If you look at where the project sits, it gives you an idea of what's coming in this neighborhood. So we believe that the surrounding character is a significant argument in this body and the Board of County Commissioners reducing the setback requirement. I'll go to one more slide. And again, Chair, I'm going fast out of the interest of time. You guys have been very generous with it. The deviations are justified by site-specific constraints, the topography, the ditches that we're taking account for. I think you saw on the map, we're providing almost a 50-foot buffer on either side of the ditches, in many instances. So the reductions, further reductions in size would change our 400 megawatts. That is a significant point. So when we talk about the economic viability of this project and our ability to move forward, we're working with, I think, the offtake option, which is in this region, is MV Energy, as to their interest is 400 megawatts. And that's what we're trying to respond with, is a 400 megawatt project. So by us allowing for the Walker River substation, by us allowing for easements on our property, we've taken out a significant amount of our land, which is why we've gone back and asked for additional land. That's what's in front of you today. So the deviations are not just for financial reasons, but they're site driven, right? So the appropriate character, the surrounding land use, and we've taken balance in mind. US 95 and the corridor through north-south through the north end of Yerington and Mason Valley is a significant point that was talked about in the solar ordinance. It's why we offered screening. It's why we offered landscaping. It's why we offered 300-foot buffer. Again, in our conversations with the community and our conversations with others in the community, we have not had pushback on that 300 feet. We have not been asked to do more setbacks. This is just a good example of what, if we go to the next one. So this is a modeling of what vegetation would look like. So, you know, very typical in this community, cottonwood trees. We are open to whatever staff or this board, the planning commission or board would like to see in terms of what that vegetation looks like. Shrubs, bushes, trees. Our intention is to create the proper screening on 95. We've been through the traffic. This is our proposed intersection. I'm just going to highlight again, our commitment is already today is $2 million at this intersection. We've done the conceptual design. We're working on a global traffic solution. We are agreeing with the condition that we need an NDOT TIS. We're not trying to shirk it. Final page. So, and we're done. So we're at the end here. The goal of this meeting is not to force a decision. It's to elaborate on our project with you, to present our project, to get your feedback. It's not a one-way street. You're in charge, not us. We're a project applicant. We're asking for consideration of our project. We asked staff to review it as, as part of our application. They had 2 issues they raised: get a traffic impact study and mitigate traffic. We've committed to mitigating traffic. We've committed to getting a TIS. They've asked us to address setbacks. We believe we've addressed setbacks and why the surrounding character allows for those deviations. To date, we do not. And again, I welcome staff to give us any feedback from constituents who may feel otherwise why the setbacks aren't appropriate. So these are additional conditions that we would propose to the board. They're in writing. I don't want to read them into the record unless you'd like me to have them read into the record. They're included as part of our presentation here, unless staff disagrees that they need to be read into the record. But Chair and Commission, what we're asking for today, the project, what you recognize, what staff has recognized, is they've asked us to address 2 things. They've asked us to address an NDOT TIS and how we view about setbacks. And Commission, or Chairwoman, I recognize that you had questions about setbacks, and in the interest of time, I went quickly. I do want to answer your questions.
Well, I have a couple.
Okay.
One would be, when we created this new process for solar fields, why do you think we chose a 2,640 foot setback and not a 300-foot setback?
So, yeah, you're asking me.
Yes.
So, or the project applicant.
Correct.
Going back and reviewing the record, and we participated in that process. EDF was, I think we wrote letters and participated in the solar ordinance. What we felt very comfortable with were what was presenting was 2 possible outcomes. The Bureau of Land Management projects, which were viewed as, I would say, unpopular at best, and a siting process by the BLM that did not include county feedback at a great degree. That was the letter you all wrote in opposition to the solar PIS. Was those conditions primarily for BLM driven projects, but on a case-by-case basis, especially for private land sites, so not to interfere with private land owner rights, an opportunity for a PUD. And a PUD allows for 0 setback. So not even 300 feet along 95, if that was the wisdom of this board or the Board of County Commissioners.
Right.
It allows for 0. And when we met with staff and we met with the county manager, we all agreed that a PUD was the proper mechanism for this project.
Yep. Well, 100%, but I don't believe that just the aesthetics of 395 is the homeowners that are surrounding it. It's everybody driving through it. It's all the population of Lyon County that goes through it. And to have a solar field this large, 300 feet away from a highway, to me is not a benefit. And I don't think what you're proposing with some cottonwood trees is a good aesthetic visual barrier.
Okay, appreciate the feedback. So can we talk, is there a point of view from Madam Chair as to what setbacks would be reasonable in your point of view? So that we
And
can start.
it's not for me to decide. That's a conversation between you and staff. That's why we have a standard. And why when you request a 88% reduction, you need to have good valid reasons, and the size of your solar field is not it as far as a public concern.
So if we go back to what the concerns are around what's the purpose of setbacks, so safety, aesthetics. What's the third?
Well, aesthetics is a huge one. Safety
Right.
is another. 300 feet from somebody crashing into your entire solar field.
So
I mean-
compatibility, so I'm gonna just address them really quickly. So compatibility, staff has already agreed that the site is compatible. That's like the number
100%.
one comprehensive master plan finding. Was that it's surrounded by transmission lines, a substation, the Mason Valley Wildlife District to the east. And then the residences that are pointed out in that map. There's a few. We've talked with as many landowners as we can. We've had as many town halls as we can. We've asked for their feedback. So the visual screening that we've proposed along US 95, we've looked forward to what additional feedback. We've asked staff, I mean, that's part of the process. They're saying they can't make a finding based off of 0 setback, but it's allowed under a PUD. It's a case by case basis. It's, I believe, your discretion and the Board of County Commissioners' discretion. The code actually says in the sole discretion of the Board of County Commissioners. I think it's fairly interpreted as the county, meaning you are part of that process. That's the whole point of a PUD,
Right.
why setbacks are 0. It's allowed for. Now, we're not suggesting 0, it's 50 feet as shown in the staff report.
Yes.
Is there an area that you would like us to look at? Is there an area that we'd like to put on the record as?
I would recommend that he not ask the planning commissioners who are serving the county for this kind of information when we've got staff who looks at the county concerns and presents them to us. Your role is to work through the county staff to address all these issues and then bring them forward. I mean, along with your application, and by my asking the questions doesn't mean I'm against your project. I like your project. It's a good one, but it's the whole process and wanting to get around some of these things. And I understand about the PUD and the setbacks and all of that. But if you can't get staff to agree, what kind of relationship is that with the county
Well, I think I would point out,
going forward?
Gavin, would you mind going back to the conditions that were what's that? Yeah, from Luis's in the staff report and what conditions they had. These are our proposed conditions that go above and beyond what staff provided. But if we can pull that up, I'd be happy to walk through that.
Excuse me, may I?
Go ahead, yes.
Okay, have you talked to staff about all of those conditions and do they agree?
They're their conditions. The applicant shall provide and comply with review comments from NDOT and include those in the final PUD. We agree. The applicant agrees to meet the standards of NDOT and the county's review comments of the TIS, and such shall be included in the final PUD. We agree. The PUD shall include rationale and justification for any deviation from standards that the county would consider adequate and appropriate. We agree. The tentative PUD application and PUD shall reflect the Walker River irrigation comments and standards. We agree. There's not one part of that we don't agree with, that they've suggested as a route for this body to find for approval with those conditions. We agree.
So I guess my question was, why was rationale and justification for the deviation from standards in the setbacks not provided in the actual application when you requested them. I mean, it states right there, you're supposed to give a reason. Your reasoning was you wanted a 400-watt mega station and that you needed it to create financial feasibility. And financial feasibility is not
I
a
think,
reason for approval of those setbacks, especially an 88% reduction of one.
I think what our interpretation of the PUD was to allow for a case by case basis, which means we look at a project as proposed.
I understand that, and this is a case by case process, but you did not provide any other reason other than financial reasons and that you wanted a 400 megawatt.
We also provided additional justification under G to staff, which was asked for. I can review that quickly, but I see Lisa. I don't know if she's coming up here or just
No,
stretching her
she's
legs.
standing.
Okay.
It's been a long.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's been a long one.
Yeah,
Go ahead, please.
yeah, if you don't mind, Chair, we provided a lot of material. We didn't just like provide like a single statement. We did a whole document of a handbook. I think, again, we're new to this process, the PUD. We weren't exactly sure how we were supposed to present this information. So we had a bunch of rationale under other documents that we submitted. We described all these constraints on the land. We described the history, but we didn't make a concise statement about it as the rationale to support the setback reduction. I think that may be where the issue is, but that's what we're trying to do today.
Unfortunately, the rationale between trying to push these setbacks is because the project scope changed. You had to give away some of the property to NV Energy for another project. That shortens that decreases what you were originally going to be able to do. Now you've come with a project that's 50% bigger. It's a completely different project. And we are circumventing the process that is new and that requires certain information to be provided to staff so they can review it and they can come up with these terms.
So just to respond to that, if I may, what we had done is we designed a project under the county regulations as they were at the time.
Correct.
And what changed was that the county adopted the setbacks.
And your project.
No, our project didn't change.
Your project's changed. It's not in the same location. It's not consistent of the same information that you originally had approved. It is a different project under different regulations because it is coming forth at a different time.
Yeah, but what I was trying to explain is that we secured the land. We had the project design. We had done a conceptual design. We had the project design. We didn't bring it forward for the CUP in the early parts of this year because, as I said, getting the CUP usually just took a few months. So we hadn't gotten the permits because of that. Then the county changed their process, and that's why we're in this constraint that we're trying to navigate.
Can I address an important concern of yours?
Yes.
Which is, thank you, Chair, Scott Whittemore, for the record. Staff identified that if we, under G in the staff report, if there was going to be additional argument, evidence, conclusion relating to deviation from the setbacks, we provided a 2-page document as part of our presentation here. I'm happy to walk through those. I am so sensitive to time. We want this to be complete. We want you to have a full record. But the biggest takeaway that I hope you have, our intent is not to be argumentative, combative. It's to help fill in the picture. Staff says the picture wasn't quite complete for us. Before you go to the board, make sure you try and fill it in. That's what the purpose of this presentation is. But it's also a willingness to accept written conditions, which are written agreements that we cannot move forward without doing exactly what you ask us to do. If there's additional setbacks you would like us to entertain, in my personal view, that's entirely appropriate for a planning commission. In order to gain your approval, meet this condition. We want this amount of setback. Now the Board of County Commissioner gets to review that. And the Board of County Commissioners gets to weigh it and say, we either agree with Planning Commissioner or they don't. But we'd have to go in front of them and make the same argument. What we're asking for is that based off of staff alternate approval conditions, we agree with them. We agree with all of them. We're not trying to circumnavigate any process. We've made an argument why we think the setbacks are appropriate. The PUD process lays it out as appropriate.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Jones, for the record, how much of this power is actually going to be left in Lyon County, or is it being sold out of the county that you're generating?
It interconnects at the Walker River substation. The physical electrons, someone smarter than me I can't guarantee that, I don't think NV Energy could guarantee that the physical electrons stay in Lyon County. They go to the Walker River substation directly next door. It's intended to be on the NV Energy system. It's intended to serve all of the ratepayers of Nevada. How those electrons move and flow. But I will say this. The Bureau of Land Management is currently under a freeze based off a DOI memo that came out July 15th. That means for 6 months, not a single approval or denial for a BLM decision has been forthcoming. That means in the state of Nevada with 83% federal lands, every project that's has a federal nexus is at a stop, is under paralysis. This is a private land site. This is one of the few gems in the rare state of Nevada where a private landowner is willing to put together their land and come before the county and develop a project on their own. Without these private land projects, the Nevada power future is very uncertain. There's 21 gigawatts of data center demand. NV Energy's number. Our total capacity in the state's 9 gigawatts. We're over doubling the demand just in data center demand. If we don't have projects like Winston, we don't know the future of the BLM projects. Right now, they are on complete hold.
We understand that. So I have a really quick
Yeah.
question for
Yeah.
you. What is the duration or the longevity of this infrastructure, do you think?
40 years. At a
40
minimum.
years. Okay.
At a minimum.
Do you have any additional information that you want to present? Because we have had a recommendation to take a restroom break at this point.
Yes, ma'am, please. No addition. I mean, we're here to
Okay.
question.
It's 10:55. We're going to go ahead.
Respectfully, I would recommend that the board not take a restroom break mid-item.
Okay.
Sorry.
Break me up.
I have a quick question for staff. Do you believe in a motion to, if we take a motion to put requirements on this project, that you can comfortably protect the county by those moving forward?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Louis Carriola. Regarding staff's recommendation, while we still don't feel process was properly followed, which is why the recommendation would still be denial. This alternative for approval is provided as a way to make sure the final PUD would be amended to reflect this itemized list recommended in the motion. I would make one correction here to number 4. It says the tentative PUD application and PUD shall reflect the Walker River Irrigation District comments and standards. That should say the final PUD. So the PUD process does not allow us to explicitly place conditions. However, we have consulted and recognized that putting it on the record that the final PUD would be amended to reflect the items in this numbered list would be moving towards what we would have expected if we had a full review timeline. Thank you.
The only other thing I would add is that on the traffic impact study specifically, is that if it's put on this PUD as an condition, Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners don't get to review that again. PUD process doesn't necessarily limit you to that traffic impact statement. So the applicant has stated, we'll do whatever we want in the traffic impact or whatever the traffic impact study says. But if the board or the commission does want to see other improvements, that wouldn't be how this is conditioned.
May I address that?
Yes.
We would be 100% willing to have a separate hearing based off of NDOT's TIS and bring it back in front of this board. So as a condition that you find that once we have an approved NDOT TIS, that we bring it back and talk to you about it and describe it and tell you where our commitments are. We're 100% willing to do that. So Andrew's point is it's not built in the process. We'll add it. We agree to the condition right now.
Can that legally be done?
Morning, Steve.
While they research that, may I ask Scott one final question?
Yes.
And
Yes, ma'am.
this has bearing on how I'm going to vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Understanding, and I'm a huge advocate for progress and advancement in Lyon County and development. I understand you've been in this since 2017. You've done a lot, you've spent a lot of money. There's a lot of people here. A lot of things have happened. If you cannot have that 400 acres that you need that's assigned for setbacks, would that negate the entire project? It's a yes or no answer. I don't need a sermon, please.
Commissioner, it's not a completely straightforward answer. But the answer is we would still have a project. We would be faced with not having as much flexibility. We are being asked right now by Monarch Data Center to give them some more land to make their project work for access to Sierra Way and also.
Just your project, just your project.
So we would have a project, but we would be doing it at a smaller size. That would make it less economically viable. They may be. You want to?
No, we just.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the best I can say. I mean, we still try to build a project. But we face significant issues right now with trying to make it work.
The only question I was gonna answer, NV. We believe there is interest in 400 megawatts from NV Energy. Those discussions are ongoing. Anytime there's a potential reduction, it changes what that negotiation looks like and their interest level. So we have to.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead, I'll let you finish.
I'll stop there.
Thank you.
I have something to say.
Yes, absolutely.
Commissioner Merritt, for the record. If this is also for the commissioners, how long, what is the distance that this 300-foot setback is? What is that distance? Is that what I see is it's just over half a mile. Is that correct? This is on, it's a single page.
It's your
with
exhibit.
It looks like it's just over half a mile. That would be that 300-foot setback, and that's it.
Yeah, the front, he's like about the frontage on 95.
Oh, how much of that?
Yeah.
What's the length?
Because it's only that little bit there.
Yeah.
That would be 300 feet away, and that would be, according to your presentation, that would be covered with.
In that proposed area.
Page 20, if you wouldn't mind, Gavin. So, this is a great point.
3/4 mile, guys.
Okay, there you go.
3/4.
But I want to make sure
Are
that
you guys okay with 3/4 of a mile of extra cottonwood trees?
I want to make sure that I'm understanding.
That's talking about this frontage right here.
Yeah, but the corridor, so everything behind the corridor is already a half a mile out. I want to make sure that I'm understanding the commissioner's point.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Everything else except for that 1/3/4 of a mile stretch.
Is already.
That's what I'm
it's already
pointing out.
set back, yeah.
Yeah, the rest is already set back to that.
Half a mile.
This is only 3/4 of a mile long
That's right,
of this 300-foot setback.
correct.
And
Get some extra.
I'd like to
cottonwood
clarify in that
trees.
same area, tell me what is being built within that 3/4 mile section that has the 300-foot offset we ask for,
Solar panels.
just solar panels.
We do have we're proposing right now our operations and maintenance building just at the northeastern corner of Sierra Way and 95. So it'd be right at that intersection. We felt that that was a good location for it. And then beyond the 300 feet to the next property line, that would all just be solar panels. And I will say that the 300 feet, the vegetation that we were looking at in there, we've been able to screen photovoltaics with much less than 300 feet. So we felt like the 300 feet was a very significant buffer from a visual screening perspective. And like I said, we would welcome other opinions on the vegetation in that area, but the cottonwood trees along the street seem to be, the existing community character. We thought adding to that and expanding upon that colonnade would add more to just the overall community character. And then providing native vegetation behind it would provide a good buffer from the rest of the.
Okay, well, I guess we can take a motion at this point. We need to do public comment. I'm sorry. I'm sure there is some. So we'll take this opportunity to do public comment. Please, when you step forward, make sure that you sign your name and your information at the podium.
So
Got it going.
Once you're signed in, please state your name for the record and you'll have 3 minutes for your information. Thank you.
So for the record, my name is Bryson Messini. I'm involved with this project and many other projects very extensively. I appreciate all your concerns and not an easy job. You guys sitting on a board like this, especially with as many projects as what's going on in this area. That being said, I believe part of the traffic impact study should be, I think you guys should work with these companies because it's not the first one that's going to come to you and it's not going to be the last one. And I believe that as those companies come, they should all have to pay their fair share. That being said, I personally use every acre of this land, even the land that my family doesn't own. I've leased it. I've run cattle on it. That's what I do for a living. You know, as far as the setbacks go, you know, Lyon County, especially Lyon County, all the way through Dayton and everywhere. Cottonwood tree is a pretty standard issue deal around here. And I believe that that's part of something that could be mitigated. I think part of their issue is helping other projects get leeway to make all this work as a cohesive plan, not just their project, not just this other guy's project. I think that's very important. And for what they're doing for Walker River Irrigation District, what they're doing for the community, as well as, you know, putting up their own cash for a traffic merging lane or however you want to state that, is I think that's something that they're trying to work through. And I don't think it's something that would have come up if there weren't so many projects coming this direction. I don't believe that, you know, they're in the wrong there. I think you guys need to take that into consideration on how many projects are there and how many different parts of this are going to go together. With that being said, I think this is the best spot in the state of Nevada to do what we're doing. We have the infrastructure, we have the personal and private resources, water, number one, which is very limited in this state. We definitely need that to do all these projects. And I want to see jobs here. I want my kids to be able to come back here. I want my kids to be able to, you know, say, you know, Dad, I don't want to be a farmer. I don't want to be a rancher, but I want to live in Yerington. So that being said, I honestly hope you guys would take in consideration and give them maybe some leniency and work with the other companies that are going to come to you in the future here shortly. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Heartache. I'm Bryson's dad, and when this all started, it was the substation hit us suddenly, and I understand why you have heartache right now. There are so many things coming at us now. You just can't believe it. It is going to change the valley. It always hurts to see farming go away, but what needs to be understood a little bit here is that we have no diversification in Yerington. That some of the land is marginal, and then comes the big issue, and this is where they didn't quite understand. If you set it back further, you're going to have unintended consequences. Nifwif, which buys the water here, wants water out of Wabusca. They tried to sue us out of its existence, didn't happen. So now they put a ton of money together. Where they want the water is off of our ranch. So if we sold that water, which would be financially pretty dang good, if we sell it, then you're going to have dirt. And if you look around our valley right now, I surely understand what you were saying about the traffic part. I wish it could have been done right. Remember, it's just like going to get your license at motor vehicles. I'm off track now, but it's hard to get things done. The water. The state of Nevada is currently buying our underground rights. And the reason is we're over appropriated in Mason Valley and in Smith Valley. Smith Valley didn't like it, and all of a sudden it's a torrent. They're selling everything up there. It's sad. We get it, but it's a necessity because of the underground. Solar, we use 3,200 to 3,500 acre feet on our part of the project a year. The reason we've loved solar from the beginning, maybe not when I was a little younger, zero water use. Zero. It literally plays perfectly into what's going on in Mason Valley. Now, as the state continues to buy these rights, where do they want them? Once again, I want to emphasize, Wabusca, the setback, you will end up with dirt. Drive our valley. This is industrial farming. This is not quaint little farms for someone's. And we all saw what happened this weekend. No fault. I don't know fault, but look what happened this weekend here on what happened, and you've all seen it. We are an industrial ag community. And at this point, we need diversification away from that. The state is on us all the time about overpumpage. During the last drought, they wanted 50% of our water. It will devastate this area. Devastate it. Are we getting into another drought now? I thank you for listening. I thought your vote 6-0 on the last deal. We did not do this willy-nilly. We brought in two great companies. There are going to be more. I'm not going to try and say that, pull the wool over your eyes. They're coming at us every single day. What happened is from the Parkway to Wabusca. Joe Dini tried to, way back, you remember, he tried to bring Snapple in down there. We had a slaughterhouse going on there. Thank God it did not. This is a better project. It cleans us up. It uses marginal farm ground that is the worst in the valley. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Oh, probably mud now.
We don't tell any Bryson's dead, but.
Bryson's. By the way, did I say that neither of us live in a castle? Do I need to repeat that?
And state your name, sir, for the record.
My name's Jeff Wright. I'm a local CPA that's been very involved in this project from day one, from the update of the regulations to where we are currently. And there's so many issues go under, and with 3 minutes, I decided just to write it down so I didn't get lost. So I'm going to restate, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. And I'm here in strong support for this proposed solar project. The project represents a significant opportunity for this county, bringing much needed tax revenue while supporting the energy that we need in this area. The proposed site is in an ideal location for this type of development. It is situated on marginal agricultural ground, requires no water, and will help relieve pressure on an already over-appropriated groundwater basin. The area has been designated as an energy corridor, as they outlined in their presentation. Importantly, in the 2020 Master Plan Amendment regarding utility corridors, they emphasize that upgrades and better use of existing corridors is a preference, and that's what this would be. While approval will require reduction in setbacks under the Lyon County Code, the code appropriately allows for discretion on a case-by-case basis. And I want to emphasize that because I was involved in those meetings and the update of the regulations. That's a key thing in this area because, as they've stated, this is an industrial area that has minimal, and I'll go on with that, it has minimal residential impact, and the applicant has committed extensively to minimizing those visual. They're willing to do whatever we need to do. It's on a highway there. You brought up a great point. It's 3/4 of a mile setback is really all we're talking about. Then I want to get beyond that. Beyond the clear environmental and economic benefits, the company has demonstrated genuine community partnership through its generous support with the Boys and Girls Club, our law enforcement, and the fire department. For all of these reasons, I respectfully urge the commission to approve this project. It is the right project in the right place at the right time. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We got hands up.
Yep. Do we have anybody else in the gallery who would like to have public comment? It does not appear so. We're going to go online, and we do have some people with their hands up. Kayla, can you please state your name for the record?
Good morning. For the record, my name is Kayla Alm.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. So hello, I serve as the Director for Health, Safety, and Environmental Permitting with Comstock Metals. As your local solar panel recycling facility, we strongly recommend and do note that under the 2025 legislative sessions AB 493 requirements, to include a decommissioning plan that outlines how the panels will be managed and ideally recycled at their end of life. as well as how any panels damaged during installation or other incidents will be handled and recycled to keep them out of Nevada landfills. Our team has extensive experience developing decommissioning plans for similar projects, and we would be happy to assist with this project as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any others online? If so, please raise your hand. Does not appear that we have any other public comment online. We have a gentleman in front of us.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager, not public comment. We had a question about whether or not we could do another hearing on the traffic impact statement, or impact study. The answer to that is there's not really a process for that, so we wouldn't advise that. There could be a situation in where the board puts a condition on there that the final PUD comes back before the planning commission and the board of county commissioners for approval instead of staff. But just to clarify, staff's position is still that we're recommending denial based on the fact that the traffic impact statement hasn't been included, or impact study hasn't been included. The conditions that we showed are really just in case the planning commission decides to move the project forward based on that.
Thank you. At this point, do we have a motion?
Let's look at that one.
I'm going to take this opportunity just to provide some comments. I do not disagree that this project is not important. I 100% believe that diversity and economic growth is very important to our community. I do believe, though, as a planner and as a resident of Lyon County, that when you don't take the bigger picture into perspective, something that's going to be here for a minimum of 40 years and going to cover that much land with that many solar panels does affect a lot of people, and it does affect a lot of this area. You can drive them down on I-80 by Winnemucca and by Battle Mountain. You can drive them now on I-80 just past Nightingale in Washoe County and Lyon County on that end, and by Fernley. These projects are big visual impacts. And my concern on a highway that runs into a small community, that you're going to have that many solar panels within 300 feet of your interstate, your highway, that is going to continue to grow. You're right, growth is coming to this area. This valley is going to change, and we need to do it well, or we will end up with the congestion that we have on Interstate 80 by USA Parkway and Trick. You cannot travel that. NDOT cannot fix that problem in the next 20 years because they didn't review the traffic information at a higher level when they decided to put those projects through. And I know nobody in this room, whether you've been here for 5 days or for 500 years in longevity, we're going to get growth, but we want to do it in a concise way. And I'm concerned that not having a traffic control plan that we can review on the back end and put comment into is a deficit. It's a problem. I think this is a good project. I am pro-growth. I do believe that solar power and energy is important for the state of Nevada. We understand that, but I think it's a bigger picture.
Chairman, I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to use a portion of what staff have suggested and a portion of what you have suggested. So, after consideration of the above listed findings, the Lyon County Planning Commission recommends approval to the Board of County Commissioners for the request from Winston FC Solar LLC for a planned unit development for the Winston Solar Project. The project consists of a 400 megawatt photovoltaic solar energy facility with approximately 780,000 solar panels, a battery energy storage system, an electrical substation, high voltage power lines, and an operations and maintenance building on 11 parcels, totaling approximately 2,374 acres in Mason Valley. subject to heavy industrial, suburban, HIS, and rural residential 20-acre minimum RR20 zoning. APNs 014-091-13, 15, 16, 17, 22. 014-201-14, 17, 18, 32, 33, 35. PLZ 2025-084, subject to the following additional conditions to be incorporated into revisions. Number one, the applicant shall provide and comply with review comments from NDOT and include those in the final PUD. Number two, the applicant agrees to meet the standards of NDOT and the county's reviews, comments of the TIS, and such shall be included in the final PUD. The PUD shall include rationale and justification for any deviation from standards that the county would consider adequate and appropriate. Number four, the final PUD application and PUD shall reflect the Walker River Irrigation District comments and standards. And number five, to be added, prior to initiation of project construction, the applicant shall submit and obtain approval from NDOT a detailed traffic control plan. The traffic control plan may include signage, flagging protocols, public notification procedures, and other measures as approved by NDOT necessary to minimize traffic impacts and enhance public safety during construction.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made, it's been seconded. All those,
Oh, I'm sorry, my microphone's on. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. No. Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. We're going to take a 5-minute break. It is 11:20, so we'll resume at 11:25. 016, we're coming back on the record.
Get that one, I do want to.
We are missing one
There was a little bit of a,
councilman.
probably a little bit of a line. Yeah, to go potty. Not in the minute.
That's okay, I have to read.
Maybe. He comes in, just give him a. Little nudge. Oh no. There he is.
Okay, we're going to move forward. Item number 7B for possible action to forward a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for the request from Staten Park Development Incorporated for a conditional use permit for a Chevron truck stops convenience store on land subject to CC Community Commercial zoning located in the southwest corner of the intersection of 6 Mile Canyon and Highway 50 in Dayton on approximately 12.41 acre parcel. APN 016-025-38. PLZ 2025-078. We're going to start with staff report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioners. Lisa Nash, Senior Planner for the record. So we are here to talk about the Chevron Truck Stop Convenience Store CUP that is before you right now. The applicant's requesting a conditional use permit to allow the operation of the truck stop convenience store on an approximately 12.41 acre parcel in Dayton. As you read, the APN 016-02538, and it's located in, as you can see, the green spot on the map. It's in the southwest corner of the intersection of 6 Mile Canyon Road and Highway 50. I will go into this a little bit more later, but the applicant is in the middle also of a tentative parcel map, which you will see next month. So the 5.92 acre portion is what they're looking at today for the CUP. And the site is currently undeveloped. I think I mentioned the tentative parcel map application has been deemed complete, is in review, and will be before you guys in January. So they're kind of running concurrently. So we're going to start here with the site plan and kind of a description of what they have said they plan to do. So this is the site plan for the proposed development. The store and restaurant building is the larger box in the center of the site. And the proposal has two fueling canopies. The one on the east side or to the right is for passenger vehicles and will have 20 car pump locations. And the one on the west side is for the trucks, and it looks like they'll have 6 pumps, which can fuel up to 12 vehicles. So there's proposed truck and RV parking in the lower left corner of the site. And there's also a car wash to the north of the building. Let's see. All right. So I want to point out, I apologize, there was an error in this staff report. And on page 8, there is no dairy and the master plan designation is mixed use, not agricultural. Thank you, Commissioner Loomis, for pointing that out to me. I apologize. It went through multiple reviews. And crashes my computer, so no excuse, but that was a great typo. There is no dairy at the Chevron. Excellent, I am so impressed. So back to the master plan and zoning. The master plan is on the left. The site is within the Dayton Land Use District and is located within the Suburban Character District. The master plan for the site, unlike my report says, is mixed use. And when we look at the zoning on the right, the subject parcel is zoned C2 or General Commercial District from the county's expired development code Title 10 and is subject to community commercial zoning per the current code Title 15. And the zoning consistency matrix is adopted in 2018. So moving on, a conditional use permit is required for a truck stop within the community commercial zoning district. And a conditional use permit allows for conditions to be applied to the application and requires mitigation of impacts from the proposed development. So here we have, I did ask the applicant to provide us with an access and circulation plan. In this plan, the blue arrows are showing the passenger vehicle ingress and the red arrows are showing the egress for the site. The green and purple arrows show the truck and RV ingress and egress routes for the site. I think there are a few little details that need to be worked out, and I noticed a little error with arrows here and there, but it gives a general sense of how the traffic will flow on this site. There will be additional conditions upon the ingress and egress from Lyon County Roads Department and NDEP as the application proceeds through a possible ADR and building and site permits. They're going to have to address the width, they're going to have to address possible turn lanes and everything like this. These will likely require that the existing proposed driveway needs to be widened with an exit right-hand turn lane out of the property onto 6 Mile Canyon for 6 Mile Canyon Road for truck traffic. There'll be encroachment permits and turn lanes into the site from 6 Mile Canyon Road, as well as protection for existing power poles and streetlights. You will see some of these same conditions and maybe a little expanded with the tentative parcel map that comes before you next month as well. And all of those conditions will apply to this development. So under chapter 15.230.06 of the Lyon County Code, we have to address the findings for a conditional use permit. I went through some of the highlights, and it is generally consistent with the master plan's contemplated uses of C2 or community commercial within a mixed use. The applicant will be responsible for meeting all of the conditions in this CUP and will need to submit mass grading plans, building permits, etc., for permitted work to be done on site. We do believe the conditions will serve to mitigate potential impacts on neighboring residential. As I mentioned before, site access will need to be determined and will be reviewed by NDOT and Lyon County Roads. The ingress and egress routes are not approved yet. They're not required to be at the CUP state, but approval will be required prior to receiving any permits. This will include a traffic impact study to be submitted to the county, which the applicant has volunteered to do. So additionally, the applicant will be required to demonstrate to the Community Development Department that these plans adhere to the standards for commercial uses. We're specifically looking at outdoor storage, fencing, buffering, and lighting, especially focused on addressing those impacts of the truck parking on residential units to the south to the site. We are very cognizant of that, and it has, the applicant has proposed trees and a buffer there. However, this will be investigated and conditioned that the community development must sign off on what the proposed plan is, and they may impose stricter buffering there to protect the properties to the south from truck traffic, from noise, from lights, etc. So I just want to add, NDOT has access management standards for properties adjacent to Highway 50. And this intersection is slated for a near future upgrade by NDOT, which will include a traffic signal. And I understand from the county manager that should be beginning construction next fall. So it's a year or so away before that is, but it is on their list and it will be coming soon. Let's see, I'm actually running this myself today. I'm so used to having Gavin do it. Before we get to questions, I really want to acknowledge the public comment that has been received. I want to thank the public for sharing their thoughts on this project via email. It has been included as a late backup for this hearing, and it was provided to the planning commissioners. This backup will also be included with the staff report that goes to the Board of County Commissioners meeting where the final decision will be made. And with that, I am available for questions, and the applicant's representative is here to make a presentation as well.
Sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Allen.
Okay, Commissioner Allen, for the record, I like this project. But I'm happy to hear, and I know at this stage of the game, you rarely see, traffic stuff, and I know that there's probably going to be a light and stuff, and I'm happy to hear that. Because I'm one of the ones who uses that intersection, and right now for a left turner from 6 Mile onto Highway 50, trying, especially during the peak hours, trying to get across is really deadly. And if you had trucks blocking your view, from the right. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any other commissioners have comments or questions? There,
Is it okay if I turn over to the applicant?
correct, yes, ma'am. I was just gonna say, is there an applicant here that wants to?
Christopher Moltz, Hartfeld Engineering. So yeah, we got some late comments, and by late, like 4:30 yesterday, so. I think I got this over to you at like 11:30 last week. Okay. So I just wanted to address, because we weren't able to have a neighborhood advisory board meeting. So we just want to address some of these comments, and that wasn't our fault. We were on schedule, but it got canceled. I'm not sure why.
Yep. Yeah.
But I just want to address the concerns, some of the public comment. So I read through everything. These are kind of the areas I saw. We had existing traffic concerns, both in terms of number of vehicles and dangerous accidents in the area. We had noise concerns, particularly for truck engines, light concerns, both with the signage on the building and truck lights. Gas station. Some other comments were the gas station's not needed, or they wanted other uses, and then there's the I don't want anything built ever comments. So I just wanted to say.
Is it intended to be 24 hours, commercial limits?
Yes, it
is a
yeah,
24
yes,
hour.
it-
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have to twice. What? Oh, point it this way, okay. All right, so general response, we appreciate comments from the community, particularly those that are well thought out and politely expressed, which is most comments, but there's a few comments that are kind of just saying anything. And, those aren't super helpful to the discussion, so we're not really gonna address those. So. All right, so with the overview of the project, we're doing a parcel split. That's the approximate acreage. So the parcel right now, 12 point something acres, which is the yellow outline from the assessor's office. That is, I believe, is the church next door, and then there's a few residences kind of on the western portion. But we're splitting it off, and this will be on a parcel that the convenience store gas station will be on a parcel that is not going to be touching residential. So I just wanted to point that out. I think it's about 300 feet. So that little yellow strip between the closest residential property line and the blue line, it's about 300 feet distant. And I think to the residents is probably more like 400 feet. So there is a little bit of buffer space there. You saw this, I just put this up just so you guys understand. So the truck parking is kind of that bottom left corner. So that would correspond to that bottom left corner, that blue right there, just so you guys have an understanding of what we're looking at. Traffic concerns. So traffic was a big thing. Majority of traffic is anticipated to be pass-by trips. So based on published data, 75% pass-by trips. So a pass-by trip is a vehicle already on the road. They're going to work, they're traveling. They see a gas station, they say, I need gas, I want a coffee. They stop by, they pull in, they go back the same way they're going. So that's technically not generating new trips. It's going to alter their paths, but you're not adding new cars to the road. People typically don't drive, 5 miles out of their way to go to a convenience store. Majority of non-pass by trips are anticipated to come from the neighborhood kind of directly next to it. So you'll have people in the direct neighborhood. Right now, I don't anticipate tons of people coming from based on we did the traffic counts already. We're not seeing a lot of cross traffic right now between across 50. You might see a little bit, you're going to see some trips, but until that light comes in, I don't think you're really going to see a lot of cross trip across 50.
We are cooperating with NDOT and Lyon County and approved for a traffic impact study. We previously scoped what intersections we're gonna do. So we have Brandstetter and 6 Mile, we have 6 Mile and 50, we have Occidental and 50, and we have what's the last one? Pardelli 50. So those are what's going to be analyzed, and we're analyzing now and then 20-year future as well. So we're anticipating future traffic demands. So these are those kind of pass by anticipated traffic patterns. We're anticipating a lot of right-ins, left-ins, those sort of thing, and then they'll be going on the way. So like, for example, a car might, if they're traveling westbound on 50, they'd be using the red arrows coming in, and they'd be using the green arrows to go back out. But this is kind of the majority of the traffic patterns we're expecting for kind of these pass-by trips. Safety concerns, that was brought up. So NDOT has plans to address safety in this area, particularly as more development occurs. Excuse me. If we look at the intersection, this is the first of the corner lots to be developed, so there's more development coming to this project. Excuse me. Let's see, they are planning a light, as was mentioned. The biggest area of concern, I looked at the crash data, historic crash data, seems to be there are fatality crashes in the area, not directly at the site, but in this corridor. Unfortunately, most of them are just unsafe driving habits. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason. It's someone's walking and someone veers off and hits them, or head on, they come across and hit them. Our approach is going to be off 6 Mile Canyon Road. We're not doing an NDOT approach. So that's a 35-mile-per-hour zone. Hopefully not being off the main corridor is going to reduce the number of those fatal crashes. I mean, that's really what we need to focus on for this area. So no access off 50. Hopefully that reduced speed, and the only access will come off 6 Mile, will help reduce chances for serious accidents. So here's NDOT crash data 2016 to 2023. The 2 red dots are fatal accidents. Those are further up 6 Mile Canyon. One was pedestrian versus vehicle, and another was I think just a single vehicle went off the road. All the blue and yellow dots are, there's a guide, but they're injury or property damage. Blue's property damage. So actually no fatals in this stretch for US 50 itself, but further down that there are. So it is an ongoing concern. When we look at the actual property itself, the historic crash data, I mean, says right there 34 crashes, but honestly, if you go to this website and look at this, it's typical. I mean, in that time frame, you have 7 years of data, you have 34 crashes. It's pretty typical. Yeah. So like I said, I mean, obviously we don't want crashes in general, but I think having the approach off 6 Mile, and it's going to be in that 35-mile speed zone, is going to be a benefit to keeping people safe. So we had noise, lights concerns. Lit signage will be facing US 50, not residential. The building is proposed to be in the way of the residential signage. So the signage is going to be a separate permit, which has to be approved anyway. But it is proposed that the building is actually in between that main, Chevron sign, and the residences. So we actually have it planned that way. Convenience gas station. It'll be on the eastern parcel closest to 50 and further away. So same thing. We have existing highway there. We can't ignore that there is existing light and noise pollution from that, and our goal is to just
keep the light and noise pollution and not affect it any more than what's already occurring in this location. We proposed a solid evergreen tree hedge by the truck RV parking. Let's see, so we want to focus on trees that'll be there all year and have vegetation to create that light and sound buffer, and we want to use, we want it to be pretty much solid at maturity so that they're going to basically be touching. And then we want something that goes down to the ground also, because if you have a, like the last project, Cottonwoods, they're not ideal landscaping trees, but they lose their leaves and they don't really screen stuff. So that's why this is proposed.
Shallow roots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like the worst tree you could pick.
They die from the inside.
So we're trying to pick evergreen trees that live here, you know, that'll screen things. I don't know if that really addressed noise. I think I understand the concern for noise. I think maybe signage for no overnight idling or something like that would be appropriate. But you know, we're open to discussions on that. People are saying they want other usage. I mean, it's up to the developer to determine if it's within allowed use to determine the best use for the property, but this is only one of a few corners, so you might get your wish, you might get your other stores you want in the future. But yeah, no, there's half the commercial parcel is going to be reserved, across the streets commercial. I definitely see the need for some of those other uses, and I'm sure the owners, if it's there, they're gonna pursue those uses in the future. And I think that's it.
Can you bring up your map again?
Yep. Which one? The
Traffic flow.
Right there.
Yeah, that one.
Where's your RV dumps in there?
So the RV is
The
on
dumps.
yeah. It's the two, so there's dual RV dumps on the west side of that, so there's two magenta arrows, so
Okay.
those are dual
Okay.
RV dump stations. So like I said, basically the truck and RV is gonna be kind of the eastern side, western side of the project. And then the
Jones for the record. Also, are you gonna have gaming in there?
yes, I think the original application said 12, but I think they were trying to do up to 15 gaming spots, which I think there's like a limit.
There is
Less than 15.
less than 15.
Okay, so whatever to comply with that. So if it has to be 14, that's fine. So. But yeah, it is intended this to be 24 hours. It's not going to be a traditional traffic or truck stop. There's no showers, no lockers, no places to sleep. So, and 10 spots is not huge. If you go to like a Love's, they'll have room for 50.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I just want him to finish first.
I just wanted to state that, I live in Dayton,
Mhm.
but, the reason you don't have a lot of cross traffic is because people can't get across. I'm just teasing. A lot of that traffic coming down off the hill because they're just finishing 65-mile-an-hour, at Copper Canyon Estates, the last
Mhm.
subdivision on the east.
Yeah.
It just goes to 60, 60 there. But people don't do 60. I mean, they stay at 70. By the time they hit 6 Mile, they're doing 70
Yeah.
still.
No, I'm glad they realigned the road
Yeah,
because that at least gives a jog if someone's not paying attention, they'll crash into a drainage basin or
Thank
something
you.
and not someone else. So.
Any other comments or questions from? I have, Commissioner Loomis, I have a comment. In my day job, I operate exactly one of these, a Chevron truck stop with about 10 stations and dump stations. And I really want to just allay the people online who are concerned about activity that might take place there. It won't happen. And the positive to that is that you're doing a Chevron. Chevron have very, very, very high standards. If you don't meet those standards, they come in and shut you down. So I just wanted to comment that this is a good way to do it. If you're going to put one there, let it be a Chevron because you will be protected.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Okay, we're going to go to, thank you, sir. I appreciate your information. We're gonna go to public comment. Is there anybody in the room that has a public comment? Are there any? Yes, oh, we do have one. Just please state your name and sign in for the record, please.
I live there in the area and I think his traffic study is off quite a bit. From 2/16 to present, you got 34 accidents. Sometimes there's that many in a week. There's at least one accident in Maverick once a week. There was a fatality at 6 Mile and Highway 50. A truck driver run over a guy. They think it was a suicide, but that's just a couple of years ago. There's another fatality up by Maverick. So don't let him gaslight you on the accidents. There's a lot of, it's a very dangerous intersection. My daughter tells me when she comes from Virginia City after work at night, she has to wait 10 minutes sometimes to get across the street going to the east. So it's something to consider.
Thank you, sir. Are there any comments, public comments online? It does not appear so. Are there any questions for staff at this point? That's just the hand. I know. I get caught by that. They're yellow when they actually want to come and talk. I figured that out finally. Are there any questions from us?
I do have a question. I don't know if you know this or not. How far out is NDOT on getting that light, that traffic light?
As I understand it, it should be started next fall. So just about a little less than a year. So for them, that's very soon.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? We can take a motion at this time.
I'll motion. Great. I'm already loud enough. Anyways, based on the aforementioned findings and the following 21 conditions, it says 20 on the thing, but there's actually 21. Conditions of approval, I move that the planning commission forward a recommendation of approval on the board of the Board of County Commissioners to request from the Stanton Park Development, Inc. for conditional use permit for a Chevron truck stop convenience store on land subject to community commercial zoning generally located in the southwest corner of the intersection of 6 Mile Canyon and Highway 50 in Dayton on a 10.94 acre parcel, APN 016-025-38 PLZ 2025-078.
Oh, Commissioner Loomis, I'll second. I'm sorry, we have a question from Ms. Sash.
I'm sorry, Lisa
Yes,
Nash, Senior Planner. Can I just correct, that should say 12.41 acres, not
12.41 acres?
Yeah. In the motion, if you don't.
I'll second the amendment. Okay, yes, 12 point. Okay, the motion was seconded with the correction of 12.41 acres instead of what was read at 10.94. And 21 conditions versus the 20 conditions, so. With that moving forward, it's all right. It's Tuesday. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Moving on, we have Community Development Director.
All right, I'll make this quick. Gavin Henderson, Lyon County Community Development Director for the record. No major updates today. Appreciate the commission's feedback regarding our items. It's good to see the process and how it, can work out for each and every project. So appreciate that. But as always, available for questions if any of the commissioners have any.
Does not appear so.
Thank you.
An easy day today. Thank you. I know. Number 8A for discussion only, Community Development Director comments update. Sorry, we just did that. We had nothing there. Commissioner comments and agenda request. Do we have any of those? It does not appear. Number 10, public participation. No action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. Members of the public who wish to address the planning commission may approach the podium and speak on matters related to the Lyon County Planning Commission, but not on items appearing on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person or topic and will not be restricted based on viewpoint. No action will be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an item upon which action may be taken.
Here comes the gun.
We do now. We need to take.
Andrew Haskins, County Manager, just a comment. Earlier, there was a comment made about the composition of the planning commission. And that statute actually does not apply. It's for counties between 100,000 and 700,000. We'll contact the individual that made the comment just so that he's aware.
Excellent.
This was, you know, in order for somebody to be appointed, they have to apply, right? Mean, they're. Sorry, formalize the route.
So there's a little different process, when you're a larger county, there is a little different process there. But we're not, so it doesn't apply.
So if we were big enough of a county, then that would be something to take to the actual county commissioners then. Right.
Yeah.
According to what he said and what you just said, so.
Thank you very much, Mr. Haskins. Okay, well, we are going to wrap up this meeting. We are adjourned at 11:57 a.m. Thank you. We'll see you next month.
Holidays, Commissioner.
Happy holidays.
Thanks, everyone.